Okay, this time.
Me too, because I was on Sunday, my temporary.
There you go. All right. Happy New Year. Good to have everybody here. Let's call the meeting to order. Today is January the 14th. We're here at the maintenance building for our regular monthly meeting. We're gonna stand. We're gonna let Brother Bob lead us in prayer. We're gonna say, "Pray, please."
If you would bow your heads. Father, thank you always for the things that you do for each one of us. We ask at this time that your blessing be put upon this meeting today, that your spirit speak to each one of us in our hearts so that we can make the right decisions for everyone involved here in Mexico Beach. We know that you bless us with beautiful waters, beaches, and much wildlife, and we know, thank you so much for that. And again, we ask that you bless each person here in their lives and even their families now, Lord. In particular, the workers that we have in the city. We ask that you keep your hand of protection upon them. And we ask this in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Here.
Mr. Pollock?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. Button?
Here.
All right, thank you. On our agenda, the first item has been, we're going to, Mr. Dunn is not here. Angela with, his office is sick, and we're gonna postpone the, congressional record recognition of Andy until, is it our next meeting?
Next month, sir.
Okay, we're gonna put that off till our next regular meeting. All right, before we move to the minutes, also we have Lieutenant Williams, who is here with the police department. We want to give him the floor to let him recognize our officers that have been able to come and be part of our community. They aren't gonna be shy.
You know, I'll come up there just like Jerry Smith was.
Just wanted to let y'all know that this is the crew that's gonna be seen down here from now on, unless there's any major changes or whatever. One of our guys is out with his kid and everything, so he didn't get to make it, Mr. Michael Brogdon. But, the hometown boys here, Mr. Bevan and Mr. McSweeney, back to work and ready to go. Manish Khanna and Corporal Martin Deutsch is your crew that's gonna be here. These are the faces you're gonna see. Just wanted to let y'all know who you're gonna be looking at when we show up at night, unless there's something else going and we bring some people over for, help. And,
We appreciate it being here, I can tell you.
Yes, yes, we have.
You're doing a good job.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you, Martin. Okay, moving on to our agenda, we have a series of minutes. June 11th is not in the packet, and so if you would, Chair will entertain a consent motion or to accept the minutes by consent, unless there's any changes, additions, or corrections.
We do have one correction on June 25th, where it states that Mr. Smith accepted the seat. I specified that it was for the TPO. It was left out of the minutes, but I went back in and corrected it to specify that it was for the TPO.
Okay. Any other corrections? Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Thank you. All right, moving on to the variance request, we have two. First is 112 Miramar Drive. We're gonna open a public hearing. For those that are here, we'll ask the administrator to give us a quick rundown. Also, before the public hearing, if there is anyone at the table that has a conflict in terms of that needs to be disclosed, it would be appropriate to do so at this time from the council. If not, the public hearing is open, and Mario, I'm going to let you do just a brief, I think we could almost have a recording and push a button, but
Mayor, it's basically the same thing we did last time, except completely different on a different address. And we do hope to address the issue on item number 3, so that in the near future, we don't have to do this.
is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak on the variance request for 112 Miramar Drive that includes units A, B, C, and D? All right, we will.
And Mayor, legal counsel did correct me, I still have to tell what is being done. Basically, one of the things that the council did right after the storm was adopt an ordinance that allowed residents to build back within the same footprint. And if they deviated from that, then they would have to come in and get a variance to do things like impervious area or pavers and things like that. So the process here is to do the same thing. It is to build back within the same location, so it is not increasing the density of the city. It's just putting back a home back where a home was within a townhome footprint.
Okay, this really deals with the party wall thing again. Those of you that have been following our meetings, that's the term you've heard us use frequently in the last few months. Is there anyone from the public again? I will close the public hearing and go to discussion from the table. Chair will entertain a motion and or discussion.
I make a motion, we accept the variance for 112 Miramar Drive.
Second.
Unit A, B, C, and D.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Follett?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes.
All right. Next is 114 Miramar Drive. Again, we'll open the public hearing. Again, we will have the administrator for the record. And again, if there's anyone at the table that has conflict with, as far as disclosure of that needs to be made on 114 Miramar Drive, this is the appropriate time. If not, please.
Mayor, again, these are townhomes where they're basically going into a zero lot line, and because they're going back in the same footprint, not increasing the density of the city, that are encroaching within that side setback of 7.5 feet going to 0. And again, on item 3, we hope to address that issue.
Is there anyone from the public that cares to address 114 Miramar Drive? Units A, B, C, and D. Okay, we'll close the public hearing, move to the table. Chair will entertain a motion and or questions and or discussion.
Make a motion to approve 114 Miramar Drive, units A, B, C, and D.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Make sure the record reflects that it's 114 and not 112. Like it's. All right, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Follett?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes.
Yeah, I see there's some folks that are here, just, I'll have to ask, when you gonna start?
We've already started.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
We've just been doing engineering work and architecture work. So we'll move
Well, that's good. That putting piles in the ground.
Yeah.
Okay, well, welcome back. All right, moving to our, number 3 item, city administrator.
Yes, sir, Mayor. I had the privilege of going before the planning board the other day and basically introducing a new subject that we hope to have on their agenda for the following meeting. But basically what it does is it addresses all the variances that we've been issuing for the last several months. Back in January of 2019, there was a study done that looked at the townhomes that exist within the city and it shows that there's a density of anywhere between 15 units to the acre all the way to 25 units to the acre, but that is an existing condition. We're not proposing to increase the density of residents within the city. We're looking to put back, consistent with the ordinance that was done back for the storm, to put homes back where homes were. The biggest issue there is because your densest land use only allows 8 units to the acre, it makes most of these new homes inconsistent because they were not consistent with the current land use code. What we hope to do is, because you've already done the ordinance, memorialize that within the comp plan, send that off to the state, get that approved, and then in the meantime, also work on the zoning that allows you within a townhome footprint, which we will memorialize the ones that exist, allow you to have a 0 lot line within those units, so we don't have to do a 7.5 foot variance all the time. But also have our engineers look at the impervious area, because again, when you look at the footprints that were here, they do exceed the 50% impervious area. We need to basically memorialize what the impervious area is and adopt that within our zoning code, and also making these adoptions within the zoning code allow us a little bit more flexibility as opposed to having to go to the state to make changes in the future. Alora has done land use changes for you in the past and zoning work for you in the past. I have been in communication with her and also with Nick. They believe that this program will help us so that we don't have to go through 4 or 5 zoning ordinances per meeting. It will take us approximately a month and a half to do this. The fact that all I'm doing is introducing it in this meeting, I can't bring it to you officially until the planning board has approved it. So on the first meeting in February, the planning board will hopefully approve it. On the first meeting in February, hopefully you will approve it. It will then be sent to the state level for their approval. They take approximately 30 days, and then we can have it before you the first meeting in March for adoption. I will check with legal counsel to see if we have a resolution that allows us to follow rules that have been kicked off on their first reading, but I don't know that I can do that, but I should have that information for you by the next meeting. The other thing that I do need from council, if they wish to proceed with this idea, is a release to sign a task order with Alora for $2,800.
Okay. Tough question. This is a zoning change?
At the end of the day, again, the land use consultants have said the easiest way to address it is through the zoning, because in all of our setbacks, our side setback for high-density residential is a 7.5 foot setback. Because we have keep in mind, these were developed when the overall parcel might have been 300 or 400 feet long, and they did have a 7 foot setback on the edges. But then they subdivided this into 25 separate units. Most of these lots are only 15 feet wide. If you put a 7 foot setback on a 15 foot wide lot, you have 1 foot to develop. Actually, at 7.5 feet, you have 0 to develop. So this is addressing something that was done when it was an overall lot, and then it was basically, you couldn't follow those same rules once you went into the individual townhome lots, which.
I understand, is it a zoning are we changing?
We are creating a zoning category.
We're creating a zoning category
Townhomes.
different than
I don't
high
know.
density.
You're still leaving it in high density.
Okay.
We are memorializing the locations where we had those.
Okay.
And then we're gonna create the pockets that had this level of density. We're gonna create a zoning category for those pockets so that we can allow for the setbacks and the impervious area work.
And that's just for what is now,
Yes, sir.
not anything in the future.
No, sir, not for the future.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea.
Well, we're working with people trying to build back.
They will speed things up.
And it will carve $300 off of every application, because the zoning
Yeah,
request
yeah,
costs
I-
$300 and then takes a month to process.
Remember we added that $300. Yeah, I understand, I'm trying to think of, in 5 years from now, when you're looking at the LDR, I'm trying to picture what, so it won't be an ordinance, there won't be
It would
there
have to-
will be an ordinance?
It would have to be an ordinance with 2 public hearings, since you're changing the permitted and the prohibited uses.
And that's why
When
that's
you
goes to
create that
state,
zoning-
that's why it goes to DCA, or that DCA doesn't exist anymore.
Well,
The equivalent of.
Well, I think what Mario is referring to is that you would also need a comp plan amendment. That has to go to the state. If you want to create a new zoning designation, that's one thing, but I think based upon the report that's in the agenda and what Mario has told me, you also need to get a comp plan amendment approved. And so that has to go to the state and start that process. And then and then in conjunction with that comp plan amendment, you also create a new zoning designation within that new future land use map that you're amending. Both of those things have to be done by ordinance.
So when you open the land development regulations in 5 years from now, there's gonna be something in there, a new zoning category
Correct. I think that's
that
all.
will identify what was here.
Correct.
Let me talk.
Your zoning map itself will have a new zoning
Zo-
category for the parcels that Mario has identified.
Okay.
And there will be separate zoning regulations, I think specific setbacks related to that zoning category.
And it'll all
Okay.
fall within this map, that is your land use map. It'll all fall inside of the high-density residential.
Residential.
This won't happen on the north side of the roadway in any
Right.
particular case.
It's truly what was existing on.
Correct.
On 10/9 of 18.
Yes, sir.
All right, process, yes, ma'am.
Nobody will be able to use that in the future then to increase, is there absolutely?
No, it has to be what was there before mine.
Right. And there was a time limit, wasn't there, on rebuilding under the, places that had existed? They had so much time in order to do it, would that apply also then?
I think, wasn't it 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pulling from memory, but that was, it may have been, I don't know, but that's some of the things that we're gonna have to get our hands around of what we're gonna do. Does it, we all said, or I think I remember us saying, we've gotta pick a time and we'll see what happens as the clock ticks. I think after 15 months, it's pretty obvious that things aren't gonna, we aren't gonna wake up and our town's gonna be rebuilt. So, but I think to answer your question, I think what is important is that we get some of those ordinances that we passed and chronicleize them in a way that we know what dates we told people they had to do things. And then we'll have to adjust, I guess you sort of say that, adjust on the fly to see where we are and what we wanna do. But in this case, what Mario's talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, now, but this eliminates that date for these parcels,
For
those.
again, the general ordinance was so that you didn't have to come back and get a development order if you went back on the same footprint.
Right.
And as you've noticed within the variances that we just did, you did have to get a development order because they did change the footprint.
Right.
But if you go back in and you wait 5 years from now to develop on these townhome parcels, you will have a land use and a zoning that is consistent for you to go back in that location as long as you follow the zoning
For that,
category, which
for
will
any
then go to
owner,
zero.
for any owner that is that's identified in
Within
that
these.
category. I don't even think that answered your question, but it might have, I don't know. But you're talking about, I mean, that's a good point, and something I thought about, whatever that timeline was. Does anybody know, did we set a timeline for allowing them to build back on the footprint?
The last time that I looked at it was 3 years.
3 years, okay, I thought it was 3 years, okay. So we've got a year and a half so to look at that.
And Mayor, let me clarify real quick. The issue I think that you've got, as someone who's coming in a little bit cold on this, But the issue you've got is that I think you've approved rebuilding in the exact existing footprint. But if anybody wants to go an inch off that footprint,
That's right.
they have to come back to you for a variance. And what Mario's requesting is to essentially take these common problems that you have on very specific parcels and simply zone them into being to address this problem where some of these footprints aren't workable anymore. Is I guess
That's
what
right, that's exactly.
that's what I'm picking up, is that-
That's exactly what we were trying to do, is keep
Yeah.
these folks that wanna build in the same footprint. In this case, they're changing the footprint, which creates the need for a variance, but yet they really still meet the same guidelines that they had. It's just the way the wording of the ordinance says, that if you're outside the footprint, you have to come back. And it's a $300 and a time front, and so we're trying to expedite the way that's done for those townhome units. Because if we don't, and they will get a variance, they don't have anything built.
Does this affect the sides of the building? I know it affects the side setbacks as the units are together, but I'm talking about the actual sides. Those still have to have the setbacks. Do you understand what I'm saying?
The end unit.
The end units, yes, the end units.
The end unit, we're going, let me back up. Typically, when there's a zoning category that butts another zoning category, there's an extra setback requirement. I'll work with the Laura to make sure that we're maintaining that, because I agree with her comment. Right now, when you had that 300-foot wide initial parcel, they did have a 7.5-foot setback and a 7.5-foot setback. So the two end parcels tended to be an extra 7.5 feet when they made those sales, because they are then abutting a single-family home that is at 8 units to the acre. There should be a setback at that location. So the zero lot line needs to be consistent within the party wall property line.
So to answer my question, that means the 7.5-foot side setbacks remain?
Should remain.
Thank you. Non-party wall setbacks.
Non-consistent lots, yes.
All right, so we're gonna come back to that at a later date. You're just sort of throwing that out and everybody sort of digests that.
Yes, sir. But if I have 3 people that are looking at it, or the full council that's looking at it in a positive manner, then I'll go ahead.
Oh, we need, yeah, you
I
mentioned
do
that.
need the $2,800.
So that's an expenditure of $2,800 that I think in the condition our city's in is well spent. So that everybody knows, there's no, will I get it, will I won't get it, will they like me, or don't like me? All right, so we need a motion to, well, we really don't. Let's just clean it up. We need a motion to authorize the, Laura to expend $2,800 to get that land development regulation bill.
I make a motion to approve $2,800 to Laura to, amend the task order for townhome rezoning.
We know what that is.
Kinda close.
Everybody knows what that is.
So,
All right, we have a motion and a second, and, if we can, the sooner, if there's a way to expedite, that would be wonderful.
I will get with the Laura to see what her timeline is. If she can expedite, I will ask for potentially quicker timeframe for the planning board and see if we can get it ahead of at least one meeting.
All right, we have a motion second, any opposition? Motion carries 5-0. All right, number 4, for LSU.
Mayor, along the same lines of the variances, the other thing that's come up is pavers. And the good thing about this coming up is your land development code already addresses pavers, and it already calls it out to basically refer to the cut sheet that is coming with the paver. So as long as the council wishes to not change anything, pavers should be permissible and should reach the impervious area or ratio that is given within their cut sheet. So if it is a completely open paver that you put gravel in between and they install it in that way, and you get 40% pervious, then that's how it should be calculated. It shouldn't be calculated that it's 0 or that it's 100%. Both of those numbers would be arbitrary, but the cut sheet that comes with it, if installed in that same manner, should be equivalent to what somebody has done daily for.
Okay, I for one, think we have to come up with a standard plan to address this, because I've been approached too many times about, I don't get the right credit for my papers, they're not calculated right, I'm not getting any credit, and so is, and Gina, does this work? Does this system work for the building department?
Yes, sir.
All right, and by asking that, who's gonna be at the next meeting saying that it won't work? I mean, what about the paver people? What we're doing now, is this gonna hurt, help?
It's definitely gonna hurt the ones that have been getting full credit for paper, for sure. It's gonna help the ones that have been getting zero credit, so there will probably be a lot of people at the next meeting.
Wish I had asked it.
Mayor, I can assure you that it isn't 100% impervious, because it's impossible to be 100%
But the
impervious.
cut sheets are clear.
Yes, sir. The
I
cut
mean,
sheets.
the cut sheets are not ambiguous, they make it,
Your civil engineer would give you a cut sheet that says you need to perform to this standard, and there should be 2, 3, 4, 5 different paver systems, and or even concrete systems, and or even asphalt systems that have a perm rate. And that is in a cut sheet that they can submit to the engineer that then could be approved by our planning.
I just want the council to know, I mean, there's folks that get 100% from previous coming in and taking people out somewhere and showing them, this is a change, but it appears to be across the board that this is the way it works. And as you know, impervious surface ratio in our little town can be a hot topic, because it limits what we do. But if we have some that get 0 and some that get 100%, then something's not, I mean, you know, I think it's important that at least we address it. And so everybody knows if we adopt the cut sheet methodology, then that's the way it is.
Okay, help me on one other thing. Joe's pavers show to be 40% impervious.
Yes, sir.
Fred's pavers show to be 30%. We go by what they show.
Yes, sir. The manufacturer's cut sheet with the installment method. Because again, you can take a paver that is, let's just assume it's 50% impervious. And if you put it on top of a concrete slab, it's 0% impervious.
Right.
If you install it according to the specifications that says sand and gravel bed, then again, if that's according to that specification for that paver in that manner, then it should receive a 50% permeability.
I really think the building department's got to have some direction here, that it's caused some concerns. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just want everyone to be aware, that's all, more than anything else, and I don't know, unless you wanna do something different. I don't know, I mean, the land development code is clear about impervious surface ratio, and the paver thing is, I mean, that's sort of they're everywhere, and they're used, you know, and they do help for those that want the concrete or whatever, I mean, but they may not, we may have some folks sitting out here next, say, hey, I've been working, mine been 100% for, now they're not. I'm just saying.
So then what do we do?
Because we go by the cut sheet. I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, the answer is simple. It's not, it's just that they haven't been held to that standard. That's my point.
And Mario said that the pavers, whatever that you buy that paver as being 40%, and that's what we go by.
Yes, sir.
Buy, and whoever installs it, that's what we do. I'm like, Bobby asked that question, I don't understand the difference between this paper and this paper and this paper, and no matter how you install it.
The easiest way for me to do it for you is for me to draw a paper.
Yes.
And
But you're going by that contractor that sells that paper, the people that sell the paper, when they give you a piece of paper that says this is 40%, then that's what you go by.
easiest way for me to explain it is paver A and paver B. Paver A has 3 holes in it, they're the same size. Paver B has 2 holes in it, they're the same size. This paver is gonna have more water flowing through it than this paver is gonna have flowing through it. Jerry's paver versus Rex's paver versus Jerry's paver versus Al's paver versus Bobby's paver are all different because they're different in design. And that design allows this one to be 20% and this one to be 30%. And again, as long as you don't come in here and fill this up with concrete, it'll still be 20% if you put gravel or sand in there, according to the specification for that paver. And that's the difference. That's why Jerry's paver versus Bobby's paver is gonna be different. But the cut sheet that comes with that paver is the one that's gonna tell you.
That's the main, I'm asking about the main thing, the cut sheet.
The cut sheet
It
is
comes from the people that you buy this paper from. You're gonna take it to Gina, and she gonna say,
Exactly.
okay,
You hit the nail on the head. Gina's gonna look at that cut sheet
that,
and be able to
cut
say
sheet.
yes or no.
I mean, it's, I'm like Al, people gonna come, it's gonna be, not gonna be pretty for, till we say, this is it. Go see Miss Johnson,
Bring your cut sheet.
and smile. And bring your cut sheet with you that you bought these things from.
Now, doesn't this just address anything new going down?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's always do.
If you already have pavers, we're not gonna go in and do anything about
Well,
those.
I mean,
This is strictly new construction.
if we're consistent,
Consensus to
Well,
word
that's,
here.
and that's the problem, you got the guy that's getting no credit, hollering at Gina, hollering at me,
but wouldn't
soon
that,
be hollering at Mario, or anybody else he can holler at and say, hey,
I
I
didn't get
can't, why somebody get it and I can't get any?
And there is history to this, because you've had one city administrator that said that you got 0, and then you had another city administrator that went the exact polar opposite and said you had 100%. And all I'm saying is, your current existing rules allow you for the percentage that's on the cut sheet. Let's just follow the current existing rules. Let's not override the system by saying it's 0, or override the system and say it's 100, because it's neither.
but I mean, that's why I'm having trouble understanding why somebody would be upset if you say this is it, then they need to pick which one will be the right
It's
one.
only because of prior
I got you.
That's
I
all,
got you.
and I don't want you to get a call and say, well, wait a minute, what are you talking about? I want to get it out
I
there
got
so
you.
everybody gets a little piece of this pie, because I think it will be controversial for those that are having, especially those that are being reduced in impervious surface ratio that have been getting full credit. I think that'd be a problem. So, we'll get Mario's phone number printed up.
Yeah.
And, all right, well then,
Got one more question.
yeah, go ahead.
Gina, Ms.
Yes,
Johnson,
sir.
how many, do we just have 2 pavers, two main paving people?
We do have 2 main
Two.
paving people. We have more than 2.
I know we do, but the 2 main ones that do work here.
Right.
And one of them says it's 100, or says it might be 60 or 70. I want you to tell me what the 2 main pavers, when they bring in that percentage, what they are. Do you understand what I'm asking?
I understand what you're asking. I can't tell you what they say off the top of my head.
Okay, I'm sorry I asked the question.
But
Let's
I
move
will
on.
get that to you.
Doesn't the manufacturer
manufacturer, the paver put out the
Yes.
specifications?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The contractor is irrelevant, it's what the
No, the contractor's not, yeah, it seems simple. You're sitting there, we're sitting here, I just wanna make sure it's all, everybody knows what we're gonna get
That's
into.
fair.
That's all.
That's
Would we-
fair.
Does the building department, I mean, it says this paver, this is the way it's put down, do they go back and check and make sure it was put down that way?
No, we don't do that.
But they will in the future.
We-
Okay, I mean, I
we
was
can't-
thinking.
We don't now.
But you would need to.
We would, what we need to know that, and it won't take long. This will be a bumpy road probably initially, but, okay.
What's the word
They-
used, that, it will go.
They do a final inspection to look at the overall site and look at the trees and look at how much asphalt they have down and footprint and that.
See it.
This is just one extra step. They carry the cut sheet, they look and make sure that they didn't fill the cells with concrete, and it's,
Well,
big
somebody
thing-
will.
Yeah, somebody will, but the big thing too, it helps them have a fair way, in my opinion, of determining the impervious surface ratio.
Right.
And without it, it's just always subjective.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. We go with it.
Solid.
All right, moving on, then, there's nothing, we're just sort of announcing that. All right, moving to, where are we? Five. Who's handling this?
I'll cover this, Mayor. Back when the Driftwood started doing their development and getting their development order, one of the things that they needed was access to the eastern side of their parcel. And on that eastern side of the parcel, the city owns the right of way. And what this authorizes Driftwood to do is to actually build a path along that eastern portion that anybody and everybody can use to get down to the White Sandy Beach, or get closer to the White Sandy Beach, not down to it. But it gives them access to 4, 5, 6 parking spaces that they have on their eastern property line. It also facilitates the parcel that is just to the east of that access path to then access their home site through this easement, actually not easement, through the right of way, as opposed to having a driveway cut off of US 98. So it actually facilitates not having 2 driveways into 1 driveway, if utilized that manner.
They don't come in, those parking spots do not come into the right of way?
No, sir. The parking spaces themselves are within the
Their
Driftwood property ownership. It's just the roadway that would be leading up to it.
Well, if I remember, that's pretty much what it was before.
It was. That's exactly the way it was. It's just that, I guess in order to, they're wanting to know, I guess that the request is, can we continue to do that?
And they were granted a letter that required the council's approval to give them that right.
All right, any discussion on that? You see what we're talking about right here? Okay.
East side.
Yeah, on the east side of the property, not the highway. All right, is there, do we have a discussion, motion? We need the record to reflect whatever we decide.
Make a motion, we accept the Driftwood and SS agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes.
Okay, number 6, I put this on here, Zach Childs asked me, you know, we had 2 lots on Lala Lane, we sold one, had closed, got our money, and we put on there in the initial, in the initial agreement was for $69,000. And we made no exception. So happened that the offer we got happened to be 2 days before our meeting, and it worked out on this lot sale. Zach is concerned that a lot of times you get fancy buyers that make a offer, and they don't wanna wait 3 weeks maybe before we have a meeting. He's asking, would the council agree to a slot? That's just, instead of a number, to give the administrator, you know, we took 60 for the one that we just sold. We would be willing to say from 60 to 69. And that way, if there's something in there, then we don't have to get everybody together and have a meeting about it. just,
As long as it's not cheaper, we can do
well, he's just asking for a little more leeway than
What
than
we
a
had,
firm
60.
number. We listed them for 69, we took 60, we had an offer.
it. 65.
So is there anybody wanna make a suggestion of what we can authorize Mario, or do we not, or we don't have to do anything? We leave it 69. It's just that if we do get an offer, we don't wanna wait.
Question, can Mario poll each
No,
council person?
No, can't pause,
Can't poll.
can't pause.
Let's just don't take nothing less than 60 and let him,
I
let
say,
him
yeah.
give him permission.
Well,
Give him, let him just set it to 60, 69.
Well, the fact that we just took 60, Zach's idea was that most likely when you just sold one
You're
for
gonna
60,
sell one
you're not
for
gonna
60.
get a 69 offer. So that's gonna
No.
put us in whatever the offer is, gathering everybody up, having a special meeting, making a decision. We're just trying to eliminate that because of what we just did. That's all. But it's just a matter of, he thought that it would be better if he could call the administrator and say, hey, I've got an offer of 62,000.
Good.
Boom, good.
Give him a $9,000.
Well, I don't care. He's just saying, he thinks that we would be better served to at least give him some kind of window to operate in.
well, if we make a minimum of 60,000, they're not gonna offer 62, they're gonna offer 60.
Yeah.
So if we don't do it, just go with 60, yeah.
Go 65.
Firm.
Try to get a little bit out of
Okay, what's 65?
it. To 60.
Oh, so lower, you're saying lower the price?
Yeah, well, if we say, okay, Zach, you, call Mario, Mario says, okay, well, I got a gauge from 69 to 60.
Right.
We voting on it now. Kimberly's gonna go off of 69 for, no, she's gonna offer 60.
59.
Why do you have to?
Yes, sir.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, we'd be.
Would you just be interested in just authorizing the city manager a percentage of their, say, 10%? For whatever the city is gonna sell, that the city manager have the authority to.
Oh, get within 10% of it?
Be within 10% or something like that, whatever the number, 10 or 15, whatever you think's fair. But just give him the authorization to make the call on any property the city wants to sell, let's say 10%.
That's a suggestion.
And Mayor, right now, this is already on a real estate agent's book listed for 69. What I've done in the past is put it out with a date certain, that all of the bids come in by a date certain. And then that way, there might be somebody that tries to outbid someone else, but if we do list the price at 60, as
It'll sell at 60.
Commissioner said, it'll come in at 60. But we can make all of it work. Percentage is gonna.
I just assume whatever the offer is, have a special meeting.
Yeah.
63,000.
I don't know. I guess you're right. I didn't think about the meetings on TV. Somebody be watching that and say, look, they told
He
me.
just told me that. Just give him permission to set it 60, 69. I mean, you know that, I'm like them, they not gonna offer over. Kimberly's gonna offer 59, and everybody else will offer 60.
You just gonna have a special meeting?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going anywhere. And if we need to react that quickly, we can find three of us, I'm sure, on short notice. Maybe that's, because we've listed it that way.
I prefer doing that.
All right, scratch number 6. All right, go ahead, number 7.
Okay, Jimmy. I mentioned the last meeting about our signs, notices, signs, variances and whatever. They're expensive, for $300 a piece. They're nice. They've done a good job in doing it. But, they had been known that somebody get upset and the sign get missing. So I really feel we need to have a deposit on it, of course, give it back once we get the sign back. And I want y'all's comment, but, I think at least a $50 deposit.
And the sign costs how much, Tom?
About 300.
I'd go higher.
But they would get the deposit back when they.
Yeah.
I'd go at least a hundred.
Why do people want that sign? Why does
They get
it?
They get mad 'cause we don't pass.
If it's not passed. I'm not saying
Oh, I
anybody
got you.
would,
Would,
or
but
everybody
it's
would,
possible.
but there's that possibility.
We've had it done before.
We have missed signs.
Okay, I'd say 100. I'd go to 100. If you're gonna get your money back, I mean, I wouldn't worry about it, I'm gonna get it back.
Cost 300, do 150, that's half of it. Or do 300, who cares?
Well, I
They're
don't
gonna
want-
get their money back.
well, I don't wanna make it hard on a person, just cause one person may do it, I don't wanna make it hard on everybody else, but I do think we need to have some type of deposit. So,
Well, only thing I worry about, if I got mad, I'd just come in and tell you somebody stole it. I'm not gonna, I want my money back. I don't know.
That's possible.
Where you from, Rick?
Georgia. I'd go to 100 or
How do you,
150.
when you collect the deposit, how does that work? You take somebody's money,
We have to collect it and cash the check. It's not that we just get a check and just sit there and hold it.
Right.
We have to cash the check. And to give you an idea, these variances would require a $300 fee for the variance, and then on top of that, a $100 or a $50 or a $300 deposit. So they already got some money in the game. It's not that that this is the first chunk of money.
How many signs have we lost?
About 3. That we can't recall.
that was the old signs,
There was one new sign and 2 old ones.
okay. So $300 plus the old
The
signs.
time I took over this job, I think, I'm pretty sure it was 3 we lost.
Well, that builds up there. So I think we definitely need to put a deposit on it.
I just hate to ask somebody for another $100 or something, they're trying to rebuild here. But I can see why I would do it.
Well, they can get it back.
And then when we pick the sign up today, we'll pick these signs up tomorrow. I'll let the department know if all signs have been picked up, they were approved, they're in good condition. You can release the deposit, And then they would come back and get whatever that deposit was that they had set.
Or what happens when the sign's not there and they didn't take it?
Like,
What do you
Rick said.
They file a police report, and it's gonna be hard to prove whether
Right.
somebody stole it or not.
I know, what do we do with $100? Or $50, or $300, what do we do?
We put it into his budget to replace the sign, is what I'm assuming.
We give them the money back.
If we are doing
There's
it
an
for a
honest system.
specific reason, we have to put it back into that same system.
But the point is, we give them the money back.
You're saying if they come back, we go to pick the sign up,
Yeah,
the sign,
it's not
we ask where the sign is,
And
they say somebody stole it.
it.
That's what I think they're
Yeah,
asking.
yeah,
What do we do with the
no,
deposit then?
I didn't do anything to the sign. Y'all put it there. I just want my money back. It shouldn't be my fault that you're keeping my $100 because I didn't do that. What are we gonna tell them?
And if they're not giving the sign back, we keep the variance. If they provide a police report, then I would
That's,
consider that side.
Getting complicated.
Well, one of the
Everybody,
main
once they've heard this meeting, is just gonna say, I didn't take it, somebody else did.
Yeah, yeah.
If I find the sign and turn it in, can I get the money?
that's why she comes.
Yeah.
You can't pick it up originally.
One of the main things we have to do is make sure we get the sign right after the meeting.
These will be picked up this afternoon.
I'm for leaving this like this. I'm not for the deposit. I just, we've never had a deposit, been doing this for years. I understand that we lost some signs, but I haven't heard anything about people getting mad and tearing them up. I mean, I'm not saying it didn't happen, I'm not saying that
I
did
said
not
they wouldn't
happen.
pick them up and they're gone, we don't know what happened to them.
But I don't wanna assume that somebody did that, I don't wanna assume that somebody that needs it the way he put the sign up, let's put it that.
Well, if you're gonna do that, I say, don't get a $300 sign.
There you
Well,
go.
the
problem is though, even a
Fix
thin
the
metal
plywood,
sign
put your
is
black
a
paint.
couple $100. The bigger the sign, the more they cost. Cause we gotta pay, a little 12 by 18 sign is $30. So imagine a big 4x4 sign will be $200.
Is there a, size limit on?
Now, what's the ones, now I don't know what Bay County uses, what's the little yellow plastic ones they put like on a piece of, let's take a poster gun and nail it to it, and you handwrite stuff on there, and you just buy new each time?
For different things, there are different signs. There are some that are literally nothing more than a printed off the printer on yellow, paper. But on a variant sign, I think there's a state
There's
statute
state
that requires
It is, that's
24
why,
by 36.
that's why
Yeah.
it is.
And that's why it costs $300.
Yeah.
They know you got to have them, they're gonna put the price to you.
All right. Motion, discussion, comments?
I make a motion, we put $100 deposit on signs, the Derek signs.
We're very sorry. All right, we have a motion on the floor. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
No.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
No.
Mr. Bud?
Yes.
Okay, we put $100 deposit on the sign. Does that go on the permit, application? What's the procedure? Who collects the money? How's all that work?
Gina is probably the best person to answer that, but I think we have 3 different things that we pull signs out for, a variance, a land use change, and potentially a zoning change. I don't know what the 3 are, but what I had planned to do is on all 3 of those applications, just put a deposit on there that is refundable, and we would just add it to that form. So when the building department would receive all of these, they would collect and we'd make arrangements to pay back. They
So
would
it
have
goes on the application form?
Mhm.
Yeah,
There is
now,
an example of it in your packet, where we added it to it.
if we're gonna collect the money, we're gonna actually have to hold checks, because we don't have the ability to write them a check back from this office. So
And
we
that's why I
would
was
just
saying,
be.
you would give the check to us, we would deposit, and then.
Yeah,
the city
then
have
we
to
would be
write it back.
accountable for it. All right? I'm sure those great minds can figure out how all that's gonna work. Okay, and that's effective tomorrow. Okay. All right, code enforcement issues number 8, I put this on here, I think it's after 15 months in county, that there's some things we need to discuss. During the time period shortly after the storm, we did nothing to the LDR that addressed night signs or off-premise signs, nothing changed. Both of those are prohibited signs. Both of those are types of signs that are prohibited. It is clear if you drive through our city that there are plenty of night signs and there are plenty of off-premise signs. And if we're gonna ask people to start cleaning up, I think we as a city need to start going back to the rules that we had before Mike. So, from a code standpoint, at least A and B, unless the council wants to address, make some exception, I think we just need to let the code people know the sign ordinance is clear, what is prohibited. We've got multiple contractor signs on lots where there's no activity. We've got multiple demolition signs that are on lots that they either cleared or just made a billboard out of the lot. So,
Light post and everything.
yeah, most of the light post signs, I talked to, Tammy about that, and she's done a good job with a lot of those, but there's still night signs, nailed on poles, and just sort of clean us up and get back to what we were doing, and if no one here wants to make an exception to either of those, then we'll just stick with what it is, and we need to let them know that that's the rule.
Are we gonna pick them up out or write it?
No, they pick them up, store them for 30 days, sign it, it's as clear as bell, what, hey, we pick them up, you don't have to notify them.
Okay.
We could, I mean, cause some of those folks have made some
Nice signs.
$300 signs that are sitting out there.
Is there a fine involved at all? Okay.
It's simply that they're not allowed.
Pick 'em
And then you store them 30 days, if they come ask about them, you let them know.
We're not responsible for them, we will put them all in one
Yeah,
location.
put 'em in a
and
pile.
You come pick them up and they go away
And,
to,
and some of those now, if we wanna be proactive about it, maybe it doesn't hurt to call. And, or, you know, I mean, but.
typically, they do have a phone number on them, so we can
I'm
do the
just saying,
courtesy
instead
method
of
of
just-
calling them up saying, you're not supposed to have this sign here, please pick it up or we will pick
And
it
one
up.
of the reasons I even say that, we've been so lenient with it, that some people, I don't know if you noticed up here on the highway, they got a 4x8 sign, which is totally illegal, in 2 different locations on the same lot about rebuild Mexico Beach.
Yeah.
And if we don't start getting back in the right frame of mind about, well, who, you know, what we want here, then it'll just be a billboard everywhere you turn. So Mario, you need to pass that on that we want to do a little better. The campers, this is something that, you know, next month, the year's up. That's what we gave everybody. We passed that little emergency ordinance, not emergency, but we passed an exemption, if you would, to allow everyone with a camper that had a home and is the owner to live there. Remember how that worked? Well, next month, that's over. So, what are we gonna do? Instead of waiting till there's 50 people out there that asking about it, let's try, I was thinking if we try to look at it ahead of time, we know if we wanna extend it, and if we do, for how long, what are the rules? I don't know who's checking on what campers are being put where, and I'm not really, I mean, we all got more things, to me, that's more important than that. However, there are people that are starting, people that are rebuilt their homes, that are asking me, maybe y'all, hey, why, he's not doing anything, why, he hasn't even touched his house, but he's living in a camper. And you remember the controversy we had when we thought we were gonna let people stay in campers?
Yeah.
So we don't, I'm not trying to get back into that, but I think if the rules are, I don't blame people that have gone and worked hard and got their house back together. And there's a guy across the street that's got 3 boats, 2 dogs, and living in a camper and hadn't touched his house. I mean, I think there's justification for that, just a minute. So that's why I put it on here. Next month, I don't have that in front of me, I had it, isn't it like the 20th of February? Give or take a few days, do you have it, Cole?
I've got your ordinance in front of me, and from the reading of it, it looks like it was a year from the end of your 6-month.
It was from the moratorium.
So that was a 6 months from, yeah, so you got 18 months. And so that should be, I don't know
Okay,
exactly when your 6-month building moratorium ended. So it'll be a year from then.
We put a moratorium on till, we didn't issue any permits until February.
That's right.
Cause it was,
Everything started being in February.
it was only for those RVs that there was a building permit on the property. You had to have a building permit, and the city had to permit the placement of the camper.
That's right. That's
Then
right.
you got a year from there, and then that also applied to any commercial food trucks, things like that, also got a year from the date of the ordinance, which is different. So,
Okay,
You
so
got
it's
2
not
different days.
February then.
I think your RV, I don't know when your moratorium ran, so that's a different question that I'm not sure of.
Here's maybe what we should do instead of just, we need to find those dates and we need to know what we're gonna tell people. That's what we need.
We'll post that on the website, very clear, we'll copy the whole ordinance so that all the intricacies are there, but we'll make it very clean and clear that it's X date, if that date is certain.
What about the people who have 2 campers when there's only supposed to be 1?
Yeah, there was 1 per lot. There was one per lot, and again, as we clean up, all of that starts to make a difference. If we're gonna, if we tell people, it's like anything else, they stretch, they just stretch it, and none of that is to cause people a problem. It's a matter of what do we wanna do?
Well, and Mayor, looking at your ordinance, I think y'all tried to build in some sort of contingencies in this because of the necessity for a building permit, and the necessity for a permit issued by the city. What y'all can do is not every scenario is gonna be the same, but if you got someone who's staying in their camper and doesn't have an active building permit, and isn't making every building permit by the state is only good for 180 days.
Right.
You're probably running on those 180 days in the next 3 or 4 months as it is, and so that may be a way for you to address it too, is to look at which properties still have building permits, which are still under active construction.
Well, I think that would be fairly simple.
And I think that's what your ordinance kind of contemplates.
Well, that's what we were trying, see, that, I think that was everybody at this table's intent, is give a chance to get a building permit. Well, unfortunately, a lot of people haven't done anything.
And then, I mean, your ordinance already contemplates that if you don't have a building permit issued, you can't be there anyway. So y'all need, those are kind of.
And I don't want this to come across as hardcore, because there's still people that are struggling to find builders, find workers. I mean, there's some justifiable issues. I just think that when we get asked why we're not enforcing our ordinance, if we don't look at it now and make some decisions about it, it's gonna cause us a problem. And there are people in town, some of the places that I went and looked at, I don't blame the residents. I really don't blame some of it. And that's why that yard storage thing, I put that on there just from a code standpoint of, my Lord.
Okay, we told an hour, let me go get a little bit more time from the.
Where's he going?
He's gonna stop them from hanging off there.
Fire, they're
Working
working on
it.
the fire department.
Oh.
Well, they all working, let's be thankful, let's give them a few minutes.
I agree, Al, you gotta,
I mean, you know,
And we have old cars sitting around.
exactly.
We have 18-wheeler trailers sitting around at the church, which I go by 5 times a day.
Well, I'm trying to not make it personal.
Well,
But
I've been told it's gonna move some of this stuff.
But my point being, I would like to see us come back with whatever the dates are, whatever the timeframes are that people, that we said we were gonna do. Did we do that by emergency ordinance? 'Cause I can't remember.
You did.
We did it by emergency ordinance, or we did?
Well, no, this ordinance wasn't an emergency ordinance.
Okay, so we went through the 30-day wait period, we did just a normal
Yeah,
ordinance.
it was a normal ordinance, not an emergency.
All right, Mario, can we task you with getting here's what we agreed to, here's the dates that those become, like when that year's up, or 18 months is up, or whatever, and come back at the next meeting and maybe send that out to us, so we have something, make sure we got something to look at. This can come across to the town as if, you know, we're big and mean, and that's not the intent at all. It's just that I think those, I don't know how you just pick out the few that are taking advantage of it. And, you know what I mean, that's what makes it difficult.
Somebody's trying and going, I know what we're saying, I want to ask Lance a question. You mind? If I went to you with a house plan for 1,500 square foot house, how long would it take me to get the house plan? And to satisfy my
With a
wife?
house plan or with a concept for a house plan?
Can't you just answer the question?
If you have nothing, it'll probably.
And I have a drawing on a piece of paper and tell you, this is guesstimating now. I'm trying to get a time frame here. How long would it take me to get some house plans?
Probably if you're in DEP, especially if you're in DEP jurisdiction, you're looking at 6 to 8 months.
Alright, we got a
That's
bill in
survey
here.
and all.
That's good. You, how long would it take to build that house?
Probably 9 to 12 months.
That's it.
Plus the contractors are about a year out, a year and a half out right now.
That's why when we do this, we're gonna hurt some people.
Now, I don't want to do, I want us to look at it from a code, this is from a code standpoint more than anything else. if nobody's doing anything,
They're gonna sit there.
and they just gonna sit there, I mean, we could be sitting here 5 years. And the people that have spoken to me, when I went and looked, I really don't mind. I really don't.
No.
I'm thinking, I didn't go check to, to see if they had pulled a building permit, but from the look of what I saw, I can tell you they probably
No.
had at all.
Well, they need to have a proof of intent.
Yeah, I think it's time we start asking those questions.
Right.
That's my point. I think it's time we start saying, hey, what are you doing here? Well, I'm waiting on my insurance. Well, we could document that, they're waiting on the insurance. I'm not doing anything. Well, if you're not gonna do anything, you're not allowed, you know, this isn't a campground. Remember how many of us on?
Yeah.
Okay, I got into that. So, just some kind of thing on those ordinances that affect the food trucks, affect the campers, just everybody ought to know, whatever it is, and then we need to look at that and make a decision of what we're gonna do.
I'll get with the building department, they should have some kind of spreadsheet on how many food truck DOs or whatever they
Yeah,
are we
and
have.
whatever
And
we
we should have
said.
the same thing for the trailers, you're supposed to have an approval from that. So
Food truck
I should
was-
be able to create both of those lists fairly easily, and if there's a building permit associated with it, I'll look at that. And then I'll look at the ordinance and see what the date certain is, if there is a date certain versus a floating date based on when you pulled it.
But remember, just before we leave this, the intent of this was from a code cleanup standpoint, not to cause somebody an issue. But if they're just living there, if they're just camping out in our town and not gonna fix their house, I think it's time we ask them. I really do. I think it's time to do that. Okay. Anything else on code? Now, I didn't put in here, but also, I've been sending them to Marty or anybody else to answer the phone about the dadgum dogs and cats and cows on the beach. Chickens or anything else.
Mayor,
What are we doing there?
We do, through FEMA, we are going after signs to replace all the signs in the city. I have pulled that specific sign out and did ask Thomas and Tommy to put a price together. And their price to replace all of the dog signs within the beach is $1,075. Or we can wait till this bid comes in and it's probably gonna save us 20% because.
Some of the confrontations I've had about it, I pay half of it.
Yeah. So, $1,000, we can get some signs up.
Yeah, I believe that people love the cats and dogs more than they love the kids. But anyway, that's another question. All right, what about you? Well, we need, the only way we can do the code thing is we need to post the signs.
Yeah.
Need to post the signs.
I mean, if Marty's back there, they call him, they usually send somebody.
I know they do, but I'm saying the people that.
They really shouldn't be enforcing because there is no sign to give them the warning. They can enforce because there is a law that says no dogs on the beach, but it's nice to have a warning before you get out there.
Yeah, well, that'll help them, it'll help us, it'll help those that wanna enjoy our beach and not have to deal with the animals on the beach. That's just something Mexico Beach, we just don't do. So, and it's been that way a long time, it's not new.
Do we need to authorize that?
No, I think, well, for that amount, they can spend that, if that's what it takes to get the
I
signs.
just wanna make sure you're okay with $1,000.
Well,
Or we can wait till all the signs come in and have you put that out, yeah.
Please don't wait. Yeah, don't wait.
I don't think we should wait. We got springtime
I can have
coming,
more than
it's just
7.
gonna get busy.
When can you have them up?
As soon as they come in.
When do they come
I got a good sign poster. Ken's good at putting signs up. You gotta go be straight and square.
And I'm curious, just,
How many?
go ahead.
How many signs?
50.
How many walks do we have?
Approximately 50.
I was looking at her.
42, I was getting a couple spares.
Put one at your house.
You'd be rolled over by a golf cart.
I know.
Is that the signs and the post, or is that
That's
just
just
the
the
signs?
sign.
It's just a sign.
That's just a metal sign.
And-
Figure 1 4x4 post and
Yeah,
And we will be
Ain't
putting
nothing.
some of these on the existing walkway rope system
Yeah.
and things like that, so we don't have to have holes for every.
let's start somewhere. I think that's $1,000 that
Well
that need to spend. Marty, you are you and your group, everybody's aware that we don't do golf carts on the sidewalk, right?
Yes, sir.
That is, okay.
We're starting to enforce that and tell people that they have existing ordinances here, and if you don't have a tag on it, you can't be past 15th Street this away.
There you go, okay.
And sidewalks on any
So
of them.
DOT, just for your information, when we put those sidewalks in, DOT made a big deal
Yes, sir.
out of, that's our 100-foot right of way, we don't have non-motorized vehicles in our right of way.
We're breaking it to them slowly. but
So,
we're fixing
okay,
it.
good.
I have a question.
Yes,
Our code enforcement lady, Tammy, is part-time right now. And is she going to get to move to full-time?
go ahead.
We're currently advertising for a full-time and a part-time position to see what comes in. Right now, Tammy is contracted out, but not a city employee, so we're looking to replace that with a full-time or part-time city.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes, Rob.
Mr. Mayor, you're talking about the trails. I remember sitting in all these meetings way back when we discussed it. And it was a time limit, I was looking for it the other day, I can't find it, Mario was gonna look to see what it is. But the discussion was, well, what happens when we get to that time limit and the house isn't built yet? And that's what we discussed around the table. It was, well, do you have an active permit and this and this? Like you said, you walked around. Councilman Smith, where he lives, I can go within 2 blocks, Georgia, Maryland, and go down the side streets. It's ridiculous. 2-3 campers on lots, half the campers that are there, the people don't even live here. They live out of state. It was rental property to start with, and it's like, why? Why do you even have a camper there if you're not here? It ain't like it's a hardship. And if they don't have a building permit right here and they don't live there, they should be told right now, pack it up and go. There's no reason for it. And it looks like trash. I mean, just like you said with the cars. 2 blocks from your house is a car sitting there, a house with 5 cars, 3 of them don't even have license plates.
Ron,
It's ridiculous.
preach-
I know you've seen it.
Preaching to
but-
the choir. The problem is, we had a category 5 storm. We tried to be what I think all of us had some compassion
You
to
did.
try to help
Everybody did.
people.
Everybody
And
did.
now all of a sudden, it's just so typical.
Uh-huh.
It's like dealing with a kid.
Yep.
Don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. How many times you say don't do that for you, you know?
Why do I walk around there, I get the mobile homes chopped in half, and the people live 8 miles away?
Well, that's
If it
why
was
the
a family, how would you
advertisement,
touch
we've got to get an active code
Mm-hmm.
system. And there's a lot of other issues besides these, but you gotta start somewhere.
I know.
The camper thing, the fact that we put a time on it, and then we gotta get somebody that's got some, how do you describe a good code personality? How do you do that?
They can't have a good person.
Well, I don't know. But, maybe Mr. Smith.
I know a good one, right here on the front row.
Oh, yeah.
Lisa, they're talking about you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
My question is, there's lots that have been sold, and they've moved campers onto those lots. Wasn't it supposed to be for only the original owner of the property to have the?
No, just the owner. We didn't say that, we don't have any way to keep up. But that's another example of how the thing is like a fungus. It spreads, and then we're supposed to keep up with it, and we're up to our eyes in alligators. And it's not really important until it's starting to make a show in our town of just how tacky looking
Because they
it
just
is.
come in on weekends. And
Yeah.
And then there's
Yeah.
campers that are there with a for sale sign on the lot. They're not gonna build back. They got their lot for sale.
We understand.
Definitely not gonna build back.
We will, when we hire a code officer, we'll ask him to play the tape of this meeting. How's that?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Bob.
I was gonna ask, is there any registration process for these campers now?
Oh, well, they're supposed to come to the city.
Whether they're really there legally or not?
They're supposed to register with the city. That's part of the rule.
Mr. Mayor, let me clarify real quick. If you have rules on the books to deal with all the issues that you're hearing about, it's a matter of enforcement.
I understand.
I don't want there to be any.
I understand. My fear is that we're going to attack or create some legitimate reason or not have some, it's hard to know how to have the compassion for those that really are trying and not just beat somebody over the head that have been trying. So that's why you gotta have a code person that can have a little people skill, can call, check things out, see what they're going on. It's easy to just get a red sticker and go up there and hammer it on the dang camper and say, get out in 3 days. I mean, that doesn't, we don't wanna do that. But we do wanna start asking questions about what you're doing here. So, have you placed the ad? I mean, have you advertised?
Yes.
Okay, and when is that up?
It's open till close, open till filled.
Okay, it's open till fifty.
So far, I have one application.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
I just had a question on, I know we had a time frame for people who didn't apply or didn't have insurance and didn't apply to FEMA and whatever, those houses need to be demolished. What's the status on that? There still seems to be some that nothing has been done to.
There's,
Quite a few.
right here. Well, there's only 3 on the list. But go ahead, Ron.
That is all that we have that have applied, that has given us the right of entry and asked for us to do it. That's all we have.
Qualified.
Yes, that are qualified.
Qualified to keep her.
That is left on the list.
Right there, just so you'll see,
What's the status?
The-
Next year? 10
No,
years?
no, we have until April. to get everything wrapped up with FEMA.
everything wrapped up in April.
300 days on it, 310 she wasn't able to produce, said she's gonna let it go back to the bank.
So the 3 that are on there are the only 3 that are on our active list that are that have not been addressed.
That's not right. I mean, everything in the green's gonna be tore down, the bottom is 3 out there. And they're trying to get the paperwork on the, but they got the actual, they don't do.
Okay,
15th Street.
any other thing about code, just, okay, we're moving on.
Move on.
City clerk, number 9.
All right, Adrian Willey's contract, you know, you guys came up with the contract for him to,
And there's a revenue trail.
Hang on. That's right, y'all got it worked out.
No, we still don't, what about the people who don't give permission or whatever? I mean, there's a house on 15th Street
That becomes a code.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You go, you send them a letter, then the city's faced with, do we go tear it down? And if we do, we gotta pay for that, and then we gotta put it on the, you know, it's.
Some places we can condemn because they're easy for children to get in and out and play.
Right.
So we can condemn those, but then it's gonna take 2 or 3 months by the time we go through all the legal stuff to get it torn down. And then we need to get them hauled off. There's several old trailers that are messed up, can't be replaced,
Right.
and haven't been touched. And we've got to do something with these people.
Yeah.
I mean,
All right. Number 9.
back on June 25th, you guys authorized Adrian to help as an interim city clerk, help me transition into the position. Right, I am at a point that I no longer need Adrian. I do have 2 days that I'm going to try to utilize him, if that's okay with you, in order to prepare for our audit with our accountant. But other than that, I wanted to bring this to the council because it does require a vote from the council in order to terminate his contract. I figured with it being at a closing point, that this is something that we should null and void.
You said we're not through with it.
Correct. Now, I could, if we want to, if you're okay with me utilizing him for those 2 days with Michael McKenzie, it would be at the end of this month. We can make a motion to terminate the contract with the exception of those 2 days with the effective date of.
I would like something in writing from you, what he's gonna do.
Okay. I can have him draw.
Some kind of brief,
Yeah,
like a task order, of what duties he's gonna help you with.
okay,
And that's at the end of this month?
that's correct.
We need that by next meeting.
Yeah, we can do the next meeting.
We can terminate the contract, but we don't, as far as paying anything, until we see, I mean, for me, I wanna see what it is that he's gonna do.
That's fine.
Mr. Mayor, what you could do is you could terminate effective February 1 and place a cap on how many hours he can spend from now until February 1.
Well, we can do that, but I wanna see what it is that he says that she, I just want, no different than a task order from some other entity. But I'm fine with it. We should go ahead and while we're here, and it's on our agenda, terminate the contract effective February 1, and that gives Jenny time to get whatever it is that she needs help with and get us, so we see what it is that we're doing. Chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to terminate Abram Whaley's contract effective February 1, 2020.
So,
We have a motion second. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Okay, Jenny, ball's in your court to tell us what you need.
All right.
All right, thank you. Well, look here, Mr. Wallace.
Yes.
Come on the agenda, man. Come on.
City vehicles and decals. I'd like to have new decals to put on the vehicles so they don't look like they've been through 3 wars. And they're grimy and dirty looking. And that's one of the first impressions people make when they're driving through town and they see a garbage truck that looks like it's worse than a garbage truck. So I think it's really important to have, and some of them may be able to be cleaned, some of them need to be replaced. And somebody, who gave me this price? Did you get Jenny? And they're giving us a real good price because they realize how bad it looks. And it's $3,125. Well, maybe we do half of that. I mean, that seems like $3,100 is a lot, considering we owe so much money to everybody in the world. But I just really think I want to see the city vehicles look good and stay looking good.
And Jerry, some of them don't have decals at all, do they, the new ones?
Right, yes.
Jerry, you couldn't paint them?
The new,
I could paint them, but I don't think
New
anybody would
Explorer
like
that
it.
we
Police car.
and then McSweeney's Explorer that we took to the police
2 new
department
Explorers, we all have
decals.
decals.
We put the decals on ourselves, don't we?
McSweeney's got police on it, right?
No, we,
Took them.
I cleared that for you.
We
So,
don't have 2 that don't. That's a new one and,
And as Jerry Wallace says, they don't have to do, as everybody knows, signing on is my mom. And she's a native here, so was doing it at her cost. That's installed, we get the vehicles cleaned for them. You can do one at a time, you can do all of them at the same time. Prices, $125 across the board.
okay, so if we do half that, then it's still the same price. Okay, I just would like to see, yeah, I mean, the rest of you guys, are you asleep here, or are you talking about this?
How many prices do we get?
We got one.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
Well, we'll get more.
We can get 3 prices.
We're not gonna, yeah, we gotta have.
We're not gonna beat this price, but that's all right, we need to get 3. We always should get 3, I don't disagree with that. But,
All right, so when we get the prices, then we can look at it, and if everybody wants to spend the money, then that's what we do. But until then, I don't think we should act on it.
okay. We'll have prices by next meeting, right?
We'll bring you back a price to replace all vehicles or half the vehicles.
No, let's just give a price for the whole thing,
Okay.
because some of these people are gonna give you a better price if you do that many.
Bulk.
Some people won't, and
So have we identified that?
we will.
All right. Number 11, Bobby.
Okay, after they closed up, Hackatumi donated the trailer to the city and the, special events. The city has to buy tags for it, they have to keep everything up on it. Special events would like to be able to just take it over. Anything that's ever done by the city is special events is involved in on it. It gives us a way of being able to keep stored a lot of stuff, wiring, tables, chairs and all that. So, we would like the council to allow special events to take over the Happy Tummy Trail.
Where do we keep?
It would be kept in one of the storage areas. Of course, at any time that the city or whatever wanted, of course, it's there. But we would like to be able to keep our stuff in there and be able to move it around, like at the, Gumbo Festival, have to be able to set it up in there, stuff like that.
Or is it used mostly, I mean, almost 100% for special events?
Yes.
Where's it at now?
Yeah, that's another thing, it's sitting over by the old fire station, which is not the best place to leave it.
I didn't know the city got ownership of that trail.
Well, they bought a tag for it.
Yeah, we donated it back to, right after we closed the camp up, right after New Year's actually, and it sat there on a lot of church for a long time before it even got moved over there, but, we did have the tags for it and registration for it when we bought it, so, that was just for the first year, obviously.
Do we
Do we have a title?
I have been trying to dig, and I'm glad you're here. Did you actually transfer the title over to Adrian?
Yes.
Okay, so then it should be in my title drawer.
Yes, and that was the intention for the trailer all along, was special events and any other event, or God forbid, another disaster came along, you know, being able to use the trailer for all of the above things, so, you know, we're wholehearted, Al and I are wholeheartedly behind this, Kimberly and Wiley and taking over the
That's right,
trailer.
it definitely, that's, yeah. All right, so it's got a title on it, Mr. Attorney, help me, if it's a title of something, and can we untitle it to somebody?
Are you wanting to donate the?
Yeah, we wanna donate it. We wanna donate it back to it was donated to us,
And you want to donate?
and we
it to
wanna
somebody?
donate to special events. Is that just a matter of transferring the title?
Yes, sir.
Is there an actual owner, is there a entity for special events? Is that
I
a
don't think they are.
501c3, is it a corporation, is it an individual?
No.
Is it a committee of the city?
Well, the city,
No.
I mean, the city could simply retain ownership and allow use.
Okay, good.
If you wanna do that instead.
Is everybody good with that?
I'm good with that. Yes, yours.
So y'all would still do, we would still do the tags and all that.
Well, you just keep using it, period.
Well, I mean, I think probably best, if you, I mean, you can donate it, I don't know.
Well,
You
they're
don't
not,
have to find a person just to individually donate it to, or you can
The person.
have an agreement with
special events.
this committee who has access to use it, and they would maintain it and all those things.
We'll give it to
Maintain
Kim.
ownership.
No, CDC does not want this. I can speak on behalf of my board for that matter. No.
I thought you were asleep, that's why I
No,
said
no,
that.
no, this is not CDC, this is special events, complete.
I know.
I'm just making it.
Checking your blood, I'm checking your blood pressure.
Don't want it.
Yeah, you don't have to overkill.
Okay, how are special events?
They're just they've got a Sunbiz FEIN number, but they're not a 501c3, C6 or
If they're a
anything.
nonprofit corporation, that's fine, they don't need to be a 501c3.
Okay.
For you to.
Oh, really?
You'd have an entity to give something to?
We can give
Well,
it-
you can give it to me if you want to, you just gotta know who you're giving it to.
Well, isn't it best to get it out of our hands?
If you don't want it, I think that's probably.
Well, that's what I wondered, would there be any liability issues if we,
Yeah, we'd have to have an agreement that spell it out unless you just give it away.
All right. Do you have the paperwork, Kimberly, on any information, the FIN number or any?
Yes, sir, I can pull that up.
Could you get with Mario and see what we can find, it's whatever entity that we could, and then, I think that's a cleaner way.
Yeah,
yeah,
That's a cleaner
that
way.
way,
Yes, it's separated and,
So then special events will hold the title and the tag for this trailer, yes?
yeah.
Okay, so if someone's pulling it and it gets in a wreck, the city's not on the hook?
no.
Okay.
Right.
Most of the time,
You make that clear,
it
yeah.
goes to whatever you pull on.
But we just need that information. If you
Yes,
can
sir, I
get
can
it
get
to us,
that
then we
tomorrow.
can, and Jenny, you're gonna get the title Okay, all right, Mario, that, you got that on your pad?
Yes, sir.
Good. Anything else, Bobby?
Sounds
Matt?
good to me.
All right,
Just speaking of special events, and you mentioned gumbo, is there any further notice on gumbo this year?
I'm under miscellaneous.
Okay.
I tell you what, the way you back, we're gonna go ahead and put you up there.
Okay, that's fine.
She's done pretty good.
Okay, so and I apologize, I don't have a poster, but they are being distributed around the city. So the Mexico Beach Gumbo Cook-Off is gonna be held this year. The Special Events Committee is very excited to be able to bring it back. It's gonna be held at the Mexico Beach Boat Ramp Park, Saturday, February 22nd, starting at 10 a.m. till the gumbo's all gone. Everything with the exception of another new location, everything's the same. Live music, gumbo, Brunswick stew categories. Applications are available now for those wanting to enter. It's free to enter. You just have to provide the 5 gallons of gumbo or stew. And then of course it's free to the public. You just purchase the tickets and eat as much as you want. We're very excited. Register Sausage has partnered with us with special events this year. They're donating all the sausage for the sausage dogs. Camp Happy Tummies is donating all the other food for the hot dogs, chips, buns, condiments. And so we're, chugging along and very excited and thankful for the city to allow special events to use the Boat Ramp Park. And we are gonna make sure that those boaters who are wanting to use the day that day, they will be able to still get out and go out in the water, absolutely.
There you go.
Here we go. Okay. Did I get everything? All right.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good.
Mayor, because we just talked about the Gumbo Festival, and we did have a meeting earlier this morning with the Special Events Committee. One of the ideas that I've been working on is to do a public outreach type meeting to present the information that has been done over the last 15 months, including the booklet that was done by Mississippi State and EPA and DEP and FWE and all the other entities that are out there. There's been a ton of work that's been done over those 15 months, and we'd like that to be able to broadcast to the community. At first, we were looking at doing an event at the end of this month, and then it got bumped into the next month, and then all of a sudden it got close enough to the Gumbo Festival that it just made a whole lot of sense that if they were willing to allow us to work with them, that we would push our event into their event. So their event has pretty much engulfed ours, and we hope to have a tent where there is a public outreach that will have a PowerPoint presentation. At some point during the day, we will actually give a presentation and give thanks to whatever entities are willing to come to this meeting. We're gonna look at our state representative, our senator, our governor. We'll invite all that have been involved, and then have that information available so that both the citizens of Mexico Beach and our visitors to Mexico Beach can see what has been going on. But some of these exercises are actually coming to the point where they have something that you can hand out and provide to the general public. Once this meeting goes out, so that we can not spoil the thing, we'll actually put all of those items on our website. But in the meantime, we hope to be included within the Gumbo Festival to have this public outreach program.
Great. Kimberly, you wanna let us have a tent?
I sure will.
I hate to see why you have to go through to get it.
I'll go with you too.
There is a permit that I need a signature on though, just FYI. Thank you.
Good
But
luck.
I gave you permission.
Don't forget your deposit.
Oh, yeah, and I need a deposit.
Well, she thanked us for allowing for the use of the boat ramp, and that's why I did that. She was just being. All right, moving on. Nobody's there, but I can tell that's Dina. Yeah. Change orders. She sat so quietly all this time.
Yeah.
So this is, change order number 1 for the, sanitary sewer repairs. If you all remember, we bid phase 2 of the sewer, and we also bid phase 3, but we only turned the contractor loose on phase 2. Now we're wrapping up phase 2, we wanna go ahead and get phase 3 done. So this change order takes what they put in their bid and then lets them actually proceed with the next phase, which is 3. It also includes one addition, which is installation of the lift station control panel at South 36th Street. I put in the wrong street, it's actually South 36th. And that was at the request of Public Works. The original bid had, and the original scope had North Florida installing our lift station control panels. And this is one that the city's been working on, but it's complicated and they wanna go ahead and have North Florida do this one as well. So, original contract price, is there for that first phase of the bid, and then with the next phase, there's an increase of $300,357.14 for a total contract price of $885,057.14.
What is phase 3 then?
Phase 3 includes the south side of Highway 98, it's gravity sewer with manholes and,
20th Street to
To 8th Street,
to 8th Street?
from the canal to 19th Street, south side. Which is obviously non-existent at all.
right,
Now, this says for sewer.
yes.
Who's gonna put water over it?
Water line's being out for bid now,
It's opening tomorrow.
that opens tomorrow. So it'll be a different
Yeah.
job,
From the same section of,
same section of road.
Yes,
Did you say from the canal to Ninth Street?
It's from
8th Street?
19th Street to 8th Street Canal on the south side.
Is that a water main? Or just, are we just?
we're doing water and sewer, this is only addressing the sewer, which
This
has
could-
already been bid, we just
I
hadn't
mean,
allowed.
lift stations are involved in that
No,
section.
we're just the biggest cost is gonna be replacing manholes, cause all the manholes got washed away. That's why the biggest cost.
No lift stations, Road.
No lift stations on the south side. The lift station that it feeds into is North 14th Street, where the old police department used to be. It all flows into that lift station, which is luckily on the north side. It's basically like a big T, it all flows to each other, and the 13th Street comes across the road.
But we're asking to add the installation of one lift station panel at South 36th Street,
Which we already purchased, we just have to install it.
per their bid unit price. We had 14 in the bid, and Thomas wants to add one more.
Is this part of the FEMA
Yes,
project that, for the overall cost?
yes, and that's why we went ahead and bid it as phase 2 and 3, so that we could change order it in, and FEMA wouldn't have issue, because we bid it all at once, we had unit pricing.
So there'll be a time limit on this?
Yes, so they will have to be done, final completion March 14th. So it does add time, they are on schedule for the phase 2, but then by adding this additional scope in, that puts us to March 14th.
And the whole plan is by the end of March, have water and sewer both 100% complete.
So no house on the south side of the road from 19th to Canal at this point even has water? I knew they didn't have sewer.
The only thing that has water on the south side on that section is the fire line on El Governor, because it bores across to 10 inch. Other than that, there's nothing that has water. And I'm getting calls weekly, daily, when are we gonna have water? I need to test my fire line.
And
So-
we expect the water, so we bid that, it opens tomorrow, and the completion time for that is also March 14th or 15th, so they'll both be done at the same time.
Mid-March is the completion date for both
What
jobs.
size water line is going?
6 inch.
6 inch?
6 inch water, 8 inch gravity. Cause there will be, like, I think there's 4 fire hydrants that have to be installed on the south side, so that's why it has to be a minimum of
Okay,
6.
so this is, it says an increase of 300,357, but that still doesn't exceed the overall price that we told FEMA this was gonna cost. I'm confused how this works.
Right, so this is just one phase of it, but the overall price
There's
that,
3
for the
phases.
428 for FEMA will include not just this phase, but phase 1,
One
phase
and
2, our internal labor, the city's put towards the sewer, it will include everything. And yes, this should be.
So this is a 428 project?
Yes.
Oh.
And again, this increase, they did it, they gave us a bid additive alternate. So this is not an increase on what they bid, this is just saying, okay, we're ready to start that. With the exception of the 11,357.14, where we're adding one more control panel, that was not in the scope originally, so that is there.
And that'll be the end of it.
Once that one's installed, we'll be 100% done with control panels on lift stations.
Finish the project.
All of them be done. The sewer lift stations will be 100% complete. The new SCADA will be installed, will be 100% remote controlled through the whole entire city on the lift station. If city did it, we're looking 6 months to finish that one lift station just because of the complexity of what everything else going on.
So we added it to this, about the.
That's 11,357.14.
Okay, questions? Got this change order in the waters for the sewer main on the south side? Chair will entertain a motion.
Here we go. Make a motion to, for change order to the pavement of North Florida Construction Company for the addition of phase 3 of $289,000 and the addition of one installation lift station control panel at South 36th Street for $11,357.14, which is a total of $300,357.14 addition to make it the total cost of $885,057.14.
Really, I've been pretty.
And where did you go to school at?
Watching that, what did Georgia do?
I'm, Jenny, you got all that? All right, we have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Second, all right, any discussion? Call roll.
Mayor Gaffney?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Bud?
Yes.
All right, Dan, you still up, I tell you.
This is a good one.
This, the next item is, our notice of award for the marina and the boat ramp repairs. This one's written a little bit differently. The pavilions for both locations came in over what we expected, so we're not setting a contract amount even though we have the bids. We know that, North Florida Construction was the low bidder regardless. So we are, if we were to approve this, we are awarding the contract and saying they were the low bidder. We are not ready to set the contract amount because we're going to go back and look at the pavilions and see if we can value engineer those and get them within a budget that works. We also have 90 days, we put into the contract, we have 90 days from the time it's bid to hold it and determine this and then issue notice to proceed.
All right, so this is a $3,592,000 bid.
We're not planning on releasing the buildings. Once you carve out the buildings, you're carving out 1.6 million dollars. So of that 3.9, assume that 1.5 will be taken out of it because first
So
off,
we're
we
talking
have to
$2
value
million.
engineer the building to some degree. And I also want to have a better idea of what FEMA's going to reimburse on those buildings.
So Dean, I'm confused. What are we asking to do?
We
Award the
are
contract.
awarding the bid to North Florida Construction with the understanding that we are not setting the contract amount yet because we will negotiate and probably take the pavilions out of that bid.
Okay, now refresh my memory. I know you're gonna look at me like you told me this 3 times, but I'm gonna ask you one more time. This is for the electrical at the marina?
This is for everything at the marina and the repairs to the boat ramp, with the exception of the repairs to the actual seawalls at both, because the seawalls, we tried to bid that, contractors didn't feel comfortable bidding it because we haven't been able to go below water and see what the damage is. So this includes repairs to the pavilion, or to the, marina, including the concrete, extending the seawall, repairing Canal Parkway, all of the dock pedestals, all of the moorings, the finger piers, yes, pulling new electrical through the conduit, replacing the landscaping. It does not include repairs to the steel sheet pile wall, and it also includes the boat ramp, but not the vinyl seawall at the boat ramp. Those are gonna have to be inspected and put out for bid separately as far as the repairs. Yes, both of those are 428 projects.
This is 428.
Yes.
And you're gonna take out $1.5 million for the outhouse.
to some degree, and then we'll probably put back in 900,000 or something like that. But again, I would like to find out what we're gonna get reimbursed from FEMA for the buildings, and then
We
ask
can
the
work
architect to
backwards.
redesign, reduce scope, so that we can get it in a more reasonable.
Because the other repairs, excluding the building, are all FEMA reimbursement.
Yes, and
The building part is where
it's FEMA reimbursable, but,
yeah, at what level?
yeah.
And the wall is in there? That piece of wall from the Parker
The
Bridge
wall's
to the?
included in the 428 estimate, yes,
And
but it's
that- and
not
that-
included in this contract. The repairs are not. This,
Include the investigation.
it includes the investigation, right, diving our wall.
The wall from the Parker Bridge,
Oh, yes, it is, sorry,
okay.
the new
The
section,
new,
yes.
that piece of wooden wall that's in here.
Mhm. It's in that price.
Okay, questions? Yes,
When would this start?
Well, we have some things to figure out, so we are,
Give me a ballpark.
I would guess not for the next 90
July
days.
4th.
Is it gonna close, is it gonna close the road?
We will make accommodations for you, Kimberly, but yes, I
It's
would.
not just me, there's houses down there,
Yeah.
there's homeowners down there.
To
I
repair
just,
the road, it's so narrow, we're gonna have to close sections of Canal Parkway while we repave it.
one section, but.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
We'll give him your phone number.
Thank you, please do. I'll be standing out there with
I
my
know you
sign.
will, I know you will.
No parking.
You and Mr. Wallace.
We can make some money.
Hey, I'm all for that.
All right, so I'm gonna direct you.
I think
Right.
I don't know.
Uh,
I think I make a motion to award the bid to North Florida Construction without a contract
For-
amount
For the marina and boat ramp.
for the marina and boat ramp.
Good.
Second.
We have a motion second, the only question I have is, when will that number be available to us?
So we've submitted this to FEMA, so there will be some time back and forth with FEMA to figure out where we land with pavilions, and then we'll need some time to go back and forth with the contractor or the architect to scale back the value in their pavilions, but hopefully for the next 3 months,
Well, how long will they hold this project?
90 days.
Oh, 90, okay.
Yeah, but we'll release the marina component of it
Yes.
and probably just pull the building component completely out.
Right.
Okay. I have a motion second, any further questions or comments on the Marina Award? Call the roll.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
$2 million, but bang. All right, moving on. Dina, you're still up, gal.
So this is the award for the remaining dune walkovers, the remaining 9. The low bidder was Floridian Construction, that's the same contractor that's done the first 5. With contingency, that award amount is $499,708. This is obligated by FEMA,
Is it 428?
yes,
What's the first one, the 428?
yes.
Yeah.
But it's not yet obligated, this one is.
Just an obligated. Okay. Everybody, just for the record, these are the remaining walkovers that are on the dedicated beach
215.
from 15th, and then also there's 3 others besides the dedicated, I can't remember.
Yeah, total, there's 14 walkovers, so it's from 15th Street, wherever we had a walkover, which was pretty much every street from 15th to the Gulf County line. So this puts back the ones that aren't there, because we did every other one.
And
for
they're
the
the
first
same
one.
design as what you see on the dedicated beach now.
Yeah.
That same look.
Yes, but the 4, remember we talked about how to address
That
those.
won't go all the way down.
Yeah, so other than that, yes, they're the same exact.
Okay, anybody wanna make a motion? Anybody have any comment for me? Okay, You got it,
Make a motion to award the bid to the Floridian Construction Company for doing walkovers phase 2 from 15th Street to Gulf County line for $499,708.
Second. Motion and a second. Questions?
I just like them, anything to talk with you, we're gonna give them finish what they did.
Yes. Yes. I talked to them today.
Yep, it's going just to bring that out, that I did, thank you.
Yep.
But yeah, for telephone poles, laying aside the walkovers and big mounds of dirt, I just
Oh,
wanna make
clean
sure.
it up.
Clean
I
up,
wanna
yeah.
clean up a little bit, so it's the same people, so she said she could.
We have a punch list that we're going through.
Oh.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Bud?
Yes.
Okay, I've got a financial question before we move on this. We awarded, let me think how to ask this so I don't, in the previous Dune Walkover project, we have people that are unpaid. That was non-obligated.
No,
No.
this is a 428 project, so all 14 dune walkovers have been obligated. Even though we have two separate bids and they're the same contractor, the project as a whole includes all 14. It's been obligated. This plus that original contract is on budget with what FEMA has obligated.
So we paid Floridian Construction Company for the 5 dune walkovers that have been bid.
We've received one pay request. Jenny has it, I don't know if it's been paid.
There's the last pay request that we received, I have not paid for North Florida.
That's
Yeah,
the
Floridian.
Floridian now, not
Floridian,
North
sorry,
Florida.
Floridian. No, I have not paid Floridian. I think that was the 93,000.
Now
We have paid direct material for Hodges Brothers, which was direct purchase of material.
Okay,
to save the tax.
right, and is it is that been obligated?
It's obligated.
And that's sitting in the state
In the
court?
state, yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Actually, it's right now.
Yes.
FEMA has not obligated it yet. Right now, it's at the end of OLA. We're not sure what date they're gonna obligate, but as soon as they obligate, they will issue a request for advancement, which is how we've been getting the rest of our 428.
So you need to clarify that, because we've been told all along it's obligated, so
No.
FEMA's not approved it.
No, you have not been told it's been obligated. It is not obligated. It is very close. FEMA agrees with our methodology and agrees with what we're saying about it and how much it's gonna cost. But it is not sitting in a pool for us to draw money. Obligation means that FEMA has taken money and handed it to the state. And they have not done
Well,
that.
I thought it said,
Yeah, on that spreadsheet we go through every week, it says it's
it shows
obligated.
it's obligated.
I'm looking at it right now in Grant's portal. It is not obligated. When it gets entered into a system called EMI, that is the financial system. It is not sitting in there yet. So this is one,
But you know that on that sheet that we meet every Wednesday, it shows obligated.
Yeah.
yeah, it is not obligated.
Well, I don't know then what good the sheet is if it's not, I help with them, because this is sort of a, maybe we'll stop for a minute on the money side, but I'll say that again, please. Obligated means what?
Obligated means that FEMA has taken money from their bin and passed it to the state.
Right.
At that point, the state goes, okay, your methodology looks good in a 428 situation, for us at least, and they've been issuing an advance. They're saying, here, take all the money that we owe you, which is 75% of the project plus 12.5 from the state.
Right.
So they just send us that money, and then we keep track of it, make sure any overage is used correctly, all that stuff, and we have it in our account. Usually that part takes the 8 to 16 days for it to make it through the advancement stage. But I talked to KPMG, who's working for the state, and it's just, that's the one that got stuck. I don't know if you guys remember me talking about it during the meetings. That's the one that we could not accept the fixed cost offer on, because the state drug their feet on it, and we couldn't get it accepted.
Are you talking about on the, now, I want to make sure I'm following you, Rodney, I'm sorry. I
Yes,
missed-
I know you're fine.
On the 5 dune walkovers that have been built, that's the one that we had the sort of hiccup on?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, that's the one we had to pick up on this last time when Melinda was in there, she said, I got it fixed. Hiccup is gone.
Right.
So,
Okay.
right now, we're just waiting for it to become obligated. Since it becomes obligated, we're ready to go. As far as requesting.
When did you get that trailer, Chris? Do you recall, roughly?
I wanna say December 19th. That,
It
that
may have
day
been November.
was it November? In November? Okay.
All right, this is the same company.
Yes.
All right. Those are just big numbers. I get them confused. I get them, I'm sorry, I'm not. We owe a lot of money. And I'm just digesting some of that. All right. Maybe you're not on the next.
She's throwing me completely under the bus.
Oh, she's throwing, okay.
Completely under the bus.
Well, then we'll pass the wand to you. Number 15.
It's an amendment to a task order, it's based on unit quantities, and it has a whopping total of $12,577,000 and $116.
I see what
And
I see.
and you can,
I
you can
know
see
I
that
see through your
it's the
stuff.
front canal, it's the mouth of the pass, it's the back canals, and it's 8th Street Canal. It's quite a bit of work. It's based all on unit quantities and fixed dollar figures per those quantities within the main contract. And this is something that we are going after funding, and it is one of the areas where we're probably getting the most questions on the funding because it's on the dredge.
Is this the second contract with these people?
It's the second amendment to their
To the
task order.
second amendment.
Yes, it is the second amendment to their task order.
Which brings the total to what?
Not to exceed 12.6. Well, I mean, it's on there, I can read it. $12,577,116.60.
I see that. I thought it was more.
The 428 that we've turned into FEMA is more because this is just the dredging. This does not include all the additional work that's like that.
Okay.
Well, and we turned it in 428 for additional dredging than even what we've done, so.
So they still have some dirt piled up, is that something that needs to be hauled off, or that's our dirt? Or do we know yet?
At St. Joe, that is our sand. It is not beach compatible, but it's clean material. So we aren't planning to have them haul it, I think we're planning to use it.
Now, this is work performed. This isn't to be performed, this is work that has been performed.
Yes, we may, so based on the actual tickets and validation, this number may go down, but yes, based on our estimate of what they've turned in. And it did come up in the last FEMA meeting with Army Corps and their comments, they mentioned that we had not done this.
Okay. That's just coming back to, yes. We did not validate it.
Well,
Or we hadn't
officially increased the not to
increased the
exceed to cover the work, yeah.
All right. Motion, comment, question? This was brought up to our attention in our process, so I'm just gonna throw this out there. But the Army Corps let us know that we were asking for more money than we had spent. Well, the reason is that this document never got here. I'm sort of just being as simplified as I know how to say that. And how can we be asking for, what, $30 million? $28 million? 22 million? And we didn't have any documentation where this had officially come to this table in the work that been done. So that's one of the, probably the main reasons that this is, so, and that's why it's broken out the way it's broken. Meaning all of these different areas that Mario went over. They have been excruciating to deal with FEMA. And Dina has done remarkably well and has maintained much more forward than I have. So, with that said, we'll move on.
Is this covered under FEMA? I mean, how did we pay $12 million?
It doesn't matter which.
It's done, I mean,
It's
the work
done.
done, so.
Well, I don't even know how to start
That's
As
fine.
whether it's covered, yeah.
I'll.
Yeah, we've been negotiating with them, what, 2 months?
No, I think it's been more.
Okay, well,
With FEMA or with?
FEMA and once the Army Corps got involved, the ship got a big hole inside. And it has been, I'm just telling you, a mountain of documentation by this lady to try to appease them about the value of that canal to this city. And they're sitting in some office wherever they're sitting and they have no earthly idea what the deal would be. That's not. But again, I've sat on my tongue the last few meetings. I've let somebody more diplomatic than me talk to me. And she's done very well. Mario has done very well. But this is a document that they need to see in the file that is critical to the ability to get that adds to our ability to tell them that this amount of stuff was in our canal.
So this is amending the big hole we're talking about.
Yeah, this is trying to put a cover over that hole. And, but don't mislead anyone here, that it's undecided in terms of dollars, what they're going to do, the Corps, and FEMA's leaning on the Corps to sort of guide them. And it's just really turned into, and we had to get the map clean. I think everyone just really realizes the importance of that map. And it wouldn't, if we'd have followed their protocol, I doubt you could put a boat in it today. If we followed their steps, we jumped out there and did what we thought was the right thing to do, and we're gonna stand by that.
Mayor, again, some of these quantities are justified by, you go through and, let's say that you play a football game and you get your shirt dirty, you wash it the first time, it's not clean, you wash it again, and you might have to wash it a third time. Because that canal system has a flow that goes through it with each tide, with each storm, and with each rainfall, yes, they went through and they cleaned the canal and they dredged it and they got the big items out, but 4 tides later, the stuff that was out on the sides rolled into the bottom. And we have photographs, and we have sent those photographs all the way up to the federal level and reached the state level to show them that it has been cleaned and it has been cleaned again, but for good reason, not just that we felt like doing extra. And that's what all these quantities are, is just all the extra work that's been done to get it to where it is.
So we need a motion to amend, just as it's written here. Is that amend this task order number?
The not to exceed.
Not to exceed amount? Okay. All right, can the chair get a motion?
Make a motion to amend the task order number 2019-02, not to exceed $12,517,116.60.
Second. We have a motion second. Question? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Pollak?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
All right, we're down to miscellaneous. One point of just more of information on our next agenda. Madam Clerk, if you could put down things like administrative report, financial report, police report, public works report. We need to get back in that. And if there's not one, that's fine, but at least if there's information that's not covered, and any others that we can think of, I think that was most of them, attorney's report, if there is one, just so we have a little more, instead of trying to do it all under miscellaneous.
Right.
Thank you. All right, who has, where would we start? Jenny, do you have anything?
Just to kind of give everybody an idea of where we sit financially, we've gotten about 1.7 million in of our ad valorem taxes thus far. Our operational account is sitting at about $3.1 million. Our account that has our FEMA funds and our grants that we've received thus far for the fiscal year is sitting at about $2.3 million. I'm in process of, we had the operational grant approved through FEMA, that's that $1.322 million. Kind of got hung up over the holidays with everybody taking holidays. I've reached back out and we'll hopefully have that additional, income in, or funds in our pulled cash by the end of this month.
Correct. How many phone calls you get about not getting people not
They're
getting paid?
starting to come in. Waste Pro is a lot of, Waste Pro is one, therefore the debris removal, where debris went. I'm starting to get ones from mutual aid, which was cities that came in directly after the storm and provided services to us. Little ones here and there.
Okay, mutual aid needs to be run through Mario. I don't know how that works, but after a storm and all of a sudden people show up to help and then send you a bill and claim mutual aid agreement. The ones I've read, don't be
Right.
writing those checks.
Yeah, we've kind of put those on the back burner.
All right, any questions on the money side? All right, Tom, you have anything?
Just want to let everybody know, the canal, there is dredging going on. It is open as of this afternoon. They're cleaning up both the east and west side on the banks, trying to keep it more open. Any boaters that are going out, you will see the dredging being moved more often throughout the week. They're gonna be on it pretty much every day, maintaining. Now, we do know over the weekend stuff happens, like this past weekend, it got pretty rough. So, but other than that, just, there's an area on Fifth Avenue, Fifth Street, that I'm sure some people's noticed is blocked off. They got the intersection tore up there, that's part of North Florida repairing the sewer line, so just use caution in that area. And part of Maryland down towards the dead ends will be, has some work on it, so just be careful in that area, workers out. But other than that, that's all I have.
I like the dredge, the second sandbar.
Need more dredge hose. Dredge hose is $3,000 per 100 foot.
How much do you need? I have somebody that said they would help buy.
600 is what I've been told.
Okay, I think you can get by.
We can make it with some shorter, but to get truly what they need a total of 600 foot.
But, okay, but do we need to, do we get past so many feet away from them, instead of getting in the intercoastal, don't we have to get some kind of permits to get that far? Or can we, maybe I should ask, can we dredge to the at the second sandbar?
It's all
The
been on
permit
agreement.
says a certain linear footage, I wanna say it's 658 feet, so I don't know that, I don't know
Well,
where
we'll
that
talk about it
658
later,
feet,
after the
okay.
Well, I brought it up last meeting about advertising, city manager job. We may very well have the person we need right here. But I think it's important that, you know, for the city of Mexico Beach to look at all options we have. And, we were gonna talk about it and think about it over the break. And, you know, I still think it's something that we need to do.
Okay.
I don't. I think we need to, keep what we got until, every time we turn around, we're changing. And that's one reason why our code forever, we can't not keep something on a regular basis when the end passed. So I believe we need to keep Mario for a while to get us on our feet and get us going in the right direction, and then put a job up for me. You know, at least say to March. Because he hadn't been here long. The longest he's been here, he's really he's grasped it and took off, but I think that.
Well, I wouldn't think we could fill it before March 18th anyway.
I think until then, and the reason why I say that is, I just wouldn't want my job put up a bid while I was trying. He's in this, I think he's in it 100%. I don't think it's not really, it's a sort of I ain't gonna say let down, I don't know the right word to use, but to him, with him going like he's going, I believe we could wait till after March or let him give him a little bit more time to get his feet wet. And so far he's doing good, and then we'll put his job up. Put the job up.
If needed.
If needed. It's gonna be hard, I mean, I can, when Andy passed, let me speak for Mr. Page. When Andy passed, this city, you talking about it, hurricane was bad now, because I was here too. But we didn't know what, I mean, I know it's bad to say, but we didn't really know what direction we was going. And Al was trying to do something at City Hall, and I was trying to help Tommy Thomas. And then this poor little girl up there in City Hall, it wasn't that bad, but it was bad. But he volunteered to come here. I think he did. And I think we need to give him a chance. Because without him, we would be backed up. Just think about how far we would be backed up now.
I'm not saying replace him, I'm saying we've got to March 18th to see which direction we wanna go. I mean, I just don't see anything wrong with putting it out for bid. Again, we may have the right person. Andy may be out there again or better. I don't know. Do we deserve to look at everything we can have? I think some of the citizens wanted us to look. I don't have a problem. If we don't get anybody any better, that's fine. It's not against who's here, at all. I just think as a city, then we owe it to do the best we can do to make sure we have the right person in here. And that's why I put it out for discussion. If we don't want to, that's fine with me.
Russ, I agree with that. If I was looking, I would wanna do that. But I'm not looking. And I'm not looking for several reasons. I'm not looking because if I'm just, 6 months ago, we had 14 applicants. If Mario's application was in that stack, he would be in my top 3, if not my top 1, based on what he brings to the table. When you go looking, at least my experience is, if you're looking, then you're not satisfied with what you have. I'm not, I'm telling you how I feel, not, I know what you said, but,
Yeah.
and the continuity that is so necessary at the stage our city is in. To me, the most awkward part of what we have now is that he's not full-time. He obviously has shown, or to me, and I'm not gonna speak for anybody else, but he has shown to me that he wants, that he likes Mexico Beach, and his name would be in that stack if we advertised. He knows our pay scale, he knows about our little town, and he's learning about it. And I'm satisfied that on March the 12th or 15th, or whatever that date is, that he's no longer part-time, that he would be our full-time administrator. Because I don't think we're gonna find anybody and go through that process again of, can they move here, where they're gonna live, what they're gonna do. I am very pleased, other than that it's just part-time, with what we have, with the experience, with the background. And so I'm just not, that's my opinion.
I feel the same way. Dealt with Mario a good bit. I like his thinking. We need stability. We need to get it started, we need stability, we need to get this city moving on forward. And with the exception of what we got with Andy, with what application we got before, I wasn't that pleased. We looked at him again after Andy, and nobody wanted to go with whatever application we had then. So, I feel comfortable with Mario, I do. You owe me $10.
Anybody else? Do you care to make a motion?
No.
Did you have a comment? No? Okay. All right, do you have any miscellaneous?
No.
We got one, Mario, is this on your list for the 15th? Is that something on that you're gonna talk about?
Yes, sir.
Then, I don't have it.
If you'll let me see what it is.
Well, she came to see you.
Most certainly, I just didn't
That's
see
on
what
your
it was.
list, then
Yes.
I don't need to do it. You have anything?
Yeah, I do. Killer Seafood had lots of trouble with trailers and all this. They have got the sheds part to put out over the building a good while back, and now they're back together. Michael, and he's here, I want him to express a little bit of it. He got ready to come and put it up and go to the council, go to the building department. And they informed him he had to get permission from the council to do this. Gina, we talked a little bit about it. I'm sure, and let Michael express himself a little more, I'm sure he wouldn't have went out and got everything if he did not think that he could do this. And now I'm wondering what the problem is. Maybe Gina can tell us the permission from the council or what it is.
So what we're talking about is the pole barn, at Killer Seafood. When Michael turned in his building application recently, we've discussed it, I don't know, for months now. I was under the impression that the council had approved it. Previous city administrator, Michael had talked to about it. Once he brought the building permit application in, I went and started looking for that approval. if y'all remember right, we had approval for Michael Kent's food trailers and some other ones in town. I went to Jenny, we went through the minutes, we could not find where it was approved by the council. So that's kind of where we stand now.
So what's the request? I'm confused.
Put the pole barn up. Is that right, Michael?
That's what I'm asking for, yes, to put the protective cover up over, so it'll be a protected area for people to sit in and have some available.
Well, I'm curious, did you get permission to do it?
I asked everyone I asked, said it was okay to go, I'll go ahead. Andy had said he was fine with it. I showed him the drawing, I had the painting, or the chalk rendering done of what I was looking at, and I showed that around everyone, and everyone.
Who is everyone? I mean,
well, I don't know if I showed it to you or not. I was walking around showing a lot of people in the office, the building department, and Andy and Tanya, she was still around me, about the plans for what I was planning on putting up here. And I didn't know that it was something that was subject to going to the city council.
well, it's not allowed in the LDR. I mean, that's why it would have had to come, I don't know about what Andy would have told you, but just if you're a business that shows up to put a pole barn up, that's a commercial development order. That would have to come, I mean, the food trailers we talked about, but we didn't talk about putting pole barns up. I don't recall ever doing that at this table. Do you, I mean,
No,
does anyone?
I don't recall that, the biggest question is why would Michael go and buy all this stuff if he hadn't had permission from somebody? Whoever was Andy or whoever, I don't know. That's why I want to bring it out and let's see what we got.
Frankly, it would have been out beyond his purview to do that. I'm talking about the administrator
Can't do.
I mean, that would have been beyond what an administrator could do. But if the request is to put one up, I guess I'm a little surprised it wasn't put on the agenda or wasn't made part of a development order filled out, or, I mean.
Well, this came up last night.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, well,
I
that's
mean,
why
it's a little awkward
that's
the
why
way
I
it's
first
being
found out
handled,
about
I think. Oh.
Can't put it. Can't, is it legal to put it up to the building department, the code, or?
No, I wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't take a business.
Is this a pole barn that's gonna be part of like the permanent building later, or is it
I
one of
don't
the?
know, that's what I mean, we don't have any, to be honest with you, if you're certainly entitled to ask, but there's a process to go through to do that, and this isn't the right process, but it's just not the right process.
Mr. Mayor, if you were gonna end up having to consider this as some sort of variance request or something like that, you probably wanna preserve, your discussion of that until you have all the facts.
To have something to look at, that's what I mean, we all know Michael, and we all appreciate, but there's still, we gotta remember that there's the right way to go through it.
Yeah, I understand, I'm not asking, I didn't know that it was gonna require some special act of the council to do that. I showed the plan to Andy, I showed it to several other people in down there, what the plan was, with both the building plan and the drawing I had done for it, to kind of the look of what it was gonna be there as a protected area for people to sit under, so.
How does the building department look at this?
As far as he's submitted the plans for the pole barn itself. The pole barn itself, there's no problem with it as far as building permit go. It's LDR requirements and development order.
So building it the way he plans to build it is okay with the building department?
Correct.
The structure
From
itself,
a
just to
building
clarify.
permit aspect.
The structure meets the wind load, it
That's
meets
right.
that, it's the location, and if that's what, I mean, We don't normally have pole barns at business locations.
I think that's the
But
problem.
again, I think what Cole said, we really should have something before us to consider what it is that he's asking to do, other than us sitting here, you know, I mean, it's just, we need to just go through the right process. Unless somebody wants to circumvent that and say, yeah, I think we could certainly do that. I don't recommend doing that. I mean, this has ramifications when you start. Well, he can put it up there, but what about the next guy? Well, he put one up, well, I mean, you can't just.
Well, this is a response basically also to try to get around having a tent out there. As we've seen the wind on Saturday, a tent would have never stood the test of that. No way. So something a little more structure oriented.
I don't.
You know. And I say, if it's not gonna be allowed, I'll put the thing up for sale or whatever I have to do with it.
Well, I think until you submit something in a formal request.
Okay.
Then I don't think it's just, I think we as a group should follow what we would ask anyone else to do.
No problem, I just
That's
didn't,
my
I didn't know that there was. that
Yeah,
all of that
because
was
it's
required,
not,
Because I put in for.
it would require a variance to do that.
Okay. And, what is the like of a variance like that?
I don't know, somebody else, I mean, I'm doing all the talking,
Could you put a tent, could he put a tent
Oh,
up there?
sure.
You can put a
Yeah,
tent.
that's a temporary structure. Pole barn is a bigger, you know, that's a.
For sales.
Yeah, but we allowed them to put a tent up down there.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done that.
But again, in that open area where that is now, without the benefit of condos blocking across the street or anything, a tent was never last there.
You know, what,
We fought the Happy Tommy's tent through storms and, you know, Mango's at least has it back up against a solid building, so they have some sort of structure to maintain the wind load there, but, I don't see a tent.
I fully understand.
So basically what you're suggesting building is going to be stronger and more permanent than a tent.
It, definitely more permanent than a tent, you know, is it ultimately permanent, and can it be taken down? Sure, like anything else, but,
Do you think in the long term you'll be building another building?
it's dependent on, you know, OPM, other people's money,
Oh,
to be honest with you, you know, I mean, it's
I don't
an
think it-
investment that, you know, millions of dollars, you know, to build a building up there, elevation and all that right now, we just don't have the funds to do that. This was the quickest way to get back into business and, start offering something.
Would you, you do realize that the food truck slash, all of that was designed to be temporary?
Why not?
Okay. Okay, you are aware of that?
Yeah, as long as I can be there and serve, then when you tell me it's time to go, it's time to go.
Well, we're just not gonna tell you, though, but the time will run out for everyone, hopefully in that, that's not what that wasn't the intent, that's all I'm saying. All right, what? Laura, you have I mean, Laura, I don't know, I'm sort of waiting on you to say what you want, you sort
well,
of.
I think it's already been laid out, he's gonna have to go through the process of trying to get a variance to put a pole barn up.
Well, I don't know of another way other than just sort of us sit here and tell them something different, which I don't recommend. I'm just saying, for me, I think they ought to go to the administrator, it's clear in how to do it. Now, I know this is awkward because he said he's talked to Andy, but all I'm commenting is that that's not in the purview of the authority of the administrator to make that decision.
Okay.
So. It'll cause more problems if we don't go through it, if we don't do it the right way.
Well, could all that be done by next meeting? Well, they'd have to go through.
You have to go
You
through
have to submit the plan and zone.
Yeah, we could do, not my next meeting, but
Well,
February, first meeting in February.
have to go through P and Z first, I would assume. Would-
Yeah. Oh, yeah, commercial Gulfport, absolutely. Goes through P and Z, I mean, it's. But I think if you just go through that process, it'll all be the best for everyone, not only for Killer, but for anyone else. I mean, you know, that might think that they don't want a tent, or don't want something temporary. Once you get into something permanent, then that's just a different ballgame than what we discussed here. I'm talking about when we made those exceptions. We never discussed anything permanent. All right, Dina, you have any miscellaneous? Mario, up to you.
Mayor, as we all know, we have the Gumbo Festival coming up on the 22nd of February. Within that event, we hope to have basically like an open workshop and booth so that we can express all the projects that have been done. Another organization that is putting something together is Mexico Beach Rising. They're doing a pier rebuilding squad event over in Tallahassee. The event is on February the 15th. It's at the Warrior on the River, which is just off of 90, just before you get to I-10 on the west end of town. It is a concert that starts, I believe, at 3 o'clock and goes into the early hours of the next day. They will have country music. It is available on the website. This poster is on our city website that will in turn direct you to their website where you can get tickets and make donations. They are putting all of the donations back through the Mexico Beach Artificial Reef Association, so whatever funds go into this will go into that, but then will come back over to the city. So again, this is just a local that has been vacationing here ever since she was a child, wants to give back to the community and has put something on her own fruition. And it's a lot of work to put it together, as you know what it takes to do that. So thank you to both the Gumbo Festival and Mexico Beach Rising. And we are having meetings on a weekly basis putting this together because we do hope to have dignitaries from FEMA, FDEP, and all of the other agencies. And there's an entire slew of agencies, and I've missed 90% of them, just the two big ones. So all of those things will be happening. We continue to have all of those other meetings. To give you an idea of something that just happened between yesterday and today, only after all the other work that had been done, is there is a NRCS project which is designed to clean up Salt Creek. That project was permitted and has been put out for funds. The funds that are available for that project are $3.1 million. That $3.1 million would have to have a local match of 25%, which equals approximately $775,000. Because Salt Creek is all private property and St. Joe owned, that was offered up to the St. Joe company because the city did not have $775,000 to put into a project. But it gives the St. Joe company the benefit of all the permitting that was done and all the efforts that have been put in together with all of these agencies, and they have looked at it affirmatively, and we will be signing paperwork here and by tomorrow so that a cleaning company can come in and clean the canal and clean all of the debris that floated in from the canal or blew in from the canal, and the St. Joe company will put in that balance funds of $775,000. We do have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow with Jared Moskowitz, and he is helping us out on all of the FEMA funds. As we mentioned before, the Fed approves it and then it goes to the state level. He is the organization that organizes most of those funds within the state. So we are going to meet with him tomorrow in hopes of some of those monies being released as quickly as possible so that we can continue to make payments for a lot of the work that, as you've already noticed, has been done. This isn't for future work, this is for work that has been done. We have some very patient businesses that have done the work and also knew that they had to wait for the process to work through, so we are working through those. The Salt Creek Bridge, which is a 428 project that has been submitted, we have not yet received the funds for it, but it is underway to the point that if you drove by there today, you might have noticed tractor trailers going from the marina site over towards the visitor center site with great pieces of concrete. They have been installing the bottom cord of the beam that builds the bridge. Jim was our designer for the bridge, that allows Salt Creek to flow out. That is replacing an old 60-inch corrugated metal pipe. When the storm hit, went over that body, filled the creek, and then backflowed it, just disintegrated it all. So this will replace that with a full-fledged bridge that will give us access to the west end of the beach again. So we're looking forward to that. I do have some accounts information from the water department, and the data is not really easy to correlate other than back in August of 2019, we had a total number of accounts of 2,200 accounts, and we're still at 2,200 accounts, so there's not a great big flow there. The big difference is active accounts. We went from 1,195 active accounts to 12,062 active accounts, so that means that buildings are coming online. I'm sorry, 1,262. Please forgive me. It's an extra 130 accounts. So, and that's over a 6-month period, not a long period of time. And I figured if I gave you the total, it would be a much larger number. But I just want to give you something relative to the last couple of months. For the next meeting, I hope to have similar data from the Building and Planning Department. I can tell you that since I've been here, I've approved 3 sets of drawings for homes. Those homes vary from $350,000 to $450,000. All of those were on the south side of 98. Substantial homes, and again, having to meet wind load and having to build up at a higher elevation. So there's a good bit of process there. We have had direct meetings with the Corps of Engineers. Those meetings, the Corps has committed to doing a feasibility study for a master stormwater system for the city of Mexico Beach. That exercise is a 2-year-long feasibility study. Keep in mind, some of the projects that we're talking about, of closing the 8th Street Canal, of doing these master stormwater systems, of purchasing land and building ponds and connecting ponds, it's easy to say that in 2 sentences. The time that it takes to get those done, the time that it takes to get the funds in, all of that is what is really the big lift is that. Again, the Corps of Engineers is confident enough that they are committing $2.5 million to do the study. That study will take approximately 2 years. Once that study is complete, then it will release them to go to the next stage, which is design. That'll take a year to do. And then, because it is for the Corps, they are reviewing the design and the permit at the same time. So the soonest that anything along those lines could happen is really 3 to 4 years from now. And even then, the funding has to come through. One of the things that the Corps has offered up is a loan for that, for a 30-year loan. I don't know the order of magnitude of the project, and there are some loans that are forgivable if the municipality doesn't have the availability to repay those. I don't know that this is one of those, but that is a possibility that we will look after.
The feasibility phase.
The feasibility portion is 100% paid by them. There is no match from the city. I mentioned that all the city parks that we're working on, that's well underway. We are looking to the St. Joe Company for a 25-acre parcel directly behind this facility on the north side that is on uplands, so that we can build outside of the floodplain and potentially rebuild our police station, our fire station, and the new city hall. So that works. We are working on a new welcome center. Those drawings are going through schematic design right now. Once we release the budget that we're confirming with FEMA right now will kick them into design development so that they don't over-design something that we can't get into, similar to what happened with Marina. Again, it's amazing what has been accomplished here in the last 15 months, and I'm happy to help in any way, fashion, or form. Whoever wants to call and talk, please call anytime or visit. Generally speaking, I'm here all day Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm here all morning on Monday and all afternoon on Friday, and I try to be over in Panama on Thursday. But even with that schedule set, I spent all day Thursday here last week, so it is flexible depending on what the meeting environment requires. Anything else I'm missing? That is it.
That's it?
For all of my notes. Thank you.
Thank you. One last thing, Jenny, if you have the dates, I think you ought to at least let people know there's an election qualifying. Do you have those dates?
I do within my email. I
think
know
it's
it's in April, and it's, Rex's position and Mr. Wallace's
Right.
position are open. I did get an email today saying that they haven't had any applicants or entries.
Qualifying is up next, I think it's the 18th, I could be wrong. Is it that?
Qualifying is February 10th through June 14th.
10th through 14th, okay, just,
Noon each day.
okay, just so that you know that that's fast approaching, anyone interested. Cole, you have anything?
I don't know.
Okay. Motion for adjournment?
So moved.
I have a question.
Whoa. Wow. Look who, go ahead, Rock, what you got?
Something real quick for the lieutenant's gone. I want to say something about the Dane County Sheriff's Department,
We'll say it.
and he's gone. To me, they've been doing a great job. Me and my wife are walking around every day with the dog, riding bikes. Every deputy makes it a point to stop. They roll the window down and say, "Hey, how you doing today? You got any questions, anything you want to talk about?" Nice as could be. I know two of the guys used to be here, but the others haven't, but I think they're doing a super job. And I talked to one of them, he said, "Any problems, anything you know?" I said, "Speeders on 98. He said, "Please bring that up at the council meeting." Talked to the lieutenant. He ain't here. Could you pass that to him?
Yeah.
On that, and like I said, I think he's doing a great job. A second quick thing, first meeting of the new year. I tried to be here last year as much as I could to see what you guys were doing. I know not everybody at this table was here the full year, but I really appreciate the hard work you've done, because the place was a zoo last year. And you put a lot of hard work in. And it is known by some people.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Miss CDC?
I just have a question with regards to the harbor master and the slips. With spring coming up, depending upon the availability to depart from the mouth of the canal, is the city gonna open the rental of the slips without the power and water availability to non-commercial fishermen?
I would
For
hope we
daily.
would open it up immediately to anybody.
It's closed right now, that's why I'm asking.
You do while you rebuild it.
Oh, well,
Not to non-commercial
It can't be while it's being
fishermen.
rebuilt.
Day trippers have not been allowed to dock overnight.
well, that's because we don't have any finger piers, we don't have any, I mean, we agreed to rent,
We,
I forget what we did.
we identified some slips that were safe.
Yes.
Yes. And I thought
Miss Mary.
I gave a list, but I don't know what happened after
Right,
that.
I mean, like Miss Mary, yes, he's got his slip, he is renting, Casey Sport Fishing had his slip, but there are a couple other finger tees that are
Well,
free,
There's
I'm
a
just
list of
wondering.
Mario, could you make a note to talk to John Lee, the harbor master? John Lee, put that on there, and let's find out what is being done and what's available, and
Cause it was talking about if they have to be moved around during the construction, we can shift them over, but
But we
always
said
safe to
we
use
we
them.
would do it, we would rent them to.
I'm gonna say it was about 20 or so of them.
Yeah,
But we
I know
would
we
do
had
it.
a list.
And that's what
Me and
we
Tommy
would
went
do.
through and counted
I
all of them.
don't recall. Have you talked to Joe, Kimberly?
No, I've not seen him, and I know that box is gone, and I don't know if it's coming back, I know.
It's coming back.
I knew that at one point it was on hold as far as certain slips, and I understand
Yeah.
that.
We
And
need
y'all
to
have
get,
approved
we
some.
need to get with John and find out what he's telling people.
Okay, we have people calling, and I just,
Nina, do we have slips that are available?
Yeah, yeah, we identified,
I mean, that aren't rented?
yeah,
I thought we.
I think so. I don't know how many are rented. I know that we gave the city a list of the ones that we deemed safe, so.
Kimberly, you have tasked us. with another-
sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, no, we need to find out.
Did
'cause
you
that's
change your,
income.
did you change your prices?
Will probably go up.
Well, they don't have the restrictions, so I don't think we can.
Let me tell you, I guess that hadn't been how, I don't know what we did.
Just with the canal continuing to move forward, just to think about, so I can let people know, because we printed those right.
All right, Mario, you got that on your pad?
I just sent them a text.
All right, anything else? Yes, sir, Roger.
Real quick, I'm doing a lot of fishing off the beach head here, and, at some point in time, I guess we're gonna have to look at a dive survey along the beach to recognize or get rid of any debris in the water with people swimming, you know.
That's been done.
Well,
Yeah. Go ahead.
So we did do along the beach, we got a permit to do offshore, but we had to make sure there was no other funding source for that, for FEMA to reimburse us, so they said to ask different agencies. We're actually in the process, it's due tomorrow, of applying for a grant through a federal agency, NIFLIF. That is exactly what it's for, is to remove marine debris. So we're hoping we'll get that. It does have, I think, a small match, but that's in the works, so we'll see if we get that funding. And then if we get turned down, that's maybe something we go back to FEMA and talk about.
Okay. Thank everyone for coming.
I said,